Speaking out of Akron, Ohio, representing Team Popping the Boys, the headline god, Jeremy Lambert, and his co-host, speaking out of Atlanta, Georgia, representing more than one royal family, the king of indie viewing, Stephen Jensen. And this is the Spotlight on Fightful.
Welcome everyone to the Spotlight here on Fightful. I'm Jeremy Lambert. That's Stephen Jensen. It is Thursday, October 31st, and shout out as always to Big Dick MLJ for the intro. Jensen, how you doing? Happy Halloween.
Yeah, happy Halloween. I'm surprised you aren't dressed up. It's too early. It's too early.
Yeah. Way too early.
Yeah, I thought about wearing like a Stardust mask or something, but like it muffles my voice too much. I'd have to take it off. So it wasn't worth doing the bit in the morning. But yeah, happy Halloween. You guys got plans to trick or treat and stuff tonight, or is that like a weekend? Okay.
No, it's every it's the last Thursday in October, no matter like what day it falls on. So some days it might be, or some years it might be October 29th. But this year it just happened. The last Thursday in October happens to be actual Halloween. So this year it did fall on Halloween.
Oh, nice. Is that, obviously I don't have kids, so I don't know exactly how it works nowadays, but do they like designate like certain like county, like is there certain places you're allowed to trick or treat and like other places you aren't, or is it all like, it's like free, basically fair game tonight is like the agreed upon night that everyone can kind of trick or treat everywhere? Or do you have to like wait for certain neighborhoods?
I don't know how it works elsewhere in the state. I only know how it kind of just works in our town.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I'm just curious because I know like I'm sure that like people get annoyed if you're showing up like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's like at the same houses over and over. So it's like the agreed upon, like, all right, come by on Thursday, we'll have the lights on, we'll have the candy out, like we'll do the Halloween thing, but I'm sure people don't want to have to do it like 4 days in a row. So
yeah, that again, it's just kind of the thing where it's the last Thursday of the month is what is the trick or treat date. Yeah, I assume like maybe it was last year. Last year was probably on the 30th, and then maybe people still went on like the 31st, but that's just sort of frowned upon. It's like, well, nobody's gonna have candy. The candy got all passed out last night.
Right. What type of candy do y'all hand out for Halloween?
Oh, nobody comes to our house, so it doesn't matter.
That's funny. I don't excuse me, I live in a condo complex, but they don't, like, people don't trick or treat in here. So like the first year I moved in here, I was ready with like some fun sized candies, like just in case. But then I found out like it's an agreed upon thing, and like where I live, we just, they just don't do trick or treating, which makes sense, because it's like, once again, it's a condo complex, so it'd be kind of weird, But yeah, I haven't. That's something. Trick or treating is something I haven't like quote unquote dealt with in a long time. But I used to like, doing it when I was a kid, obviously, like dressing up and doing like, going through the neighborhood and all that stuff. So I hope your kids have a good time doing it.
They typically do. And then, the candy they don't like, I get. So that's beneficial for me.
Hell yeah, absolutely. Also, unrelated wrestling news, just throw it out there. The Minnesota Vikings 5-2 now. Some bad losses. I saw that your Panthers are starting to clean house a little bit, starting to make some trades and stuff. So,
sure.
Yeah. Rob Wilkins in the chat, our good friend Rob, says, I'm going as Ralphus this year. That's funny. If you're actually doing that, no one would get it, but I guess you just like what shirt he just wore, like a cut off like white shirt.
Yeah.
Then there's the other guy who was like the Jerichoholic Ninja who was like doing the same thing. But yeah, that would be a really funny inside baseball type of Halloween costume. If anyone else in the chat is trick-or-treating or have kids that are trick-or-treating this year, please let us know in the comments what the costumes are. I'm interested to know kind of what. I remember years back when South Park did their Halloween episode, the joke was that everybody goes as the Crow, and I bet that happens, but like half the time it's the Crow, and like half the time like you can't tell, but sometimes it's Sting, but we
went to a Halloween party on Friday I went as Orange Cassidy. I don't know if you saw the photo.
Oh, I did see a picture of that. Yes, all denimed out. That was a good one. And your wife was called Kapowski.
Yes.
I saw that.
So we went to a Halloween party on Friday. Someone dressed as the Crow, and I thought, like, from afar, I thought they were Sting. I was like, oh, he's doing a Sting costume. And then, like, we got closer up, and I could tell it was more Crow than Sting. But he was a wrestling fan, and he came over, and he's like, oh, I love your Orange Cassidy costume. I was like, oh, yeah, like, I thought you were Sting at first. He's like, oh, no, like, I did. Like, I like wrestling, but, you know, when is the Crow and everything, and his girlfriend liked wrestling as well. So we ended up talking about wrestling throughout the night. But yes, there's a Crow Sting correlation there. And my Orange Cassidy costume was actually recognized at a Halloween party.
Oh man, that's awesome. Yeah, that's a double. That's two great things right there. Like, and even more than that, because it worked out the way that it did. Like, I've no joke. I was at a New Year's party a few years ago. And there was a guy wearing, it wasn't like one of like the current Sting bomber jackets that like he wore on TV, but it was like a, you remember that company that was big for a little while? I don't see much of their stuff anymore, but they were making like those really nice, like, they got to still be around. What was the name of that damn company? They were making like the jackets that like they got like all the different wrestling logos, but they don't just do wrestling. They do like Power Rangers and a whole bunch. Anyway, I saw a guy wearing one of those, and it had a big scorpion on it, and like it was definitely a Sting. It was definitely like a retro Sting jacket. And I walked up to it, and I was like, chalk line. Thank you, Rob. That's what I was trying to think of. I don't know if this was a chalk line jacket or not, but it was in like a style of a chalk line, and it was definitely a Sting jacket. Like, whoever made this thing, it was for sure for Sting. And I walked up to this dude at this New Year's party, and I didn't know hardly like 3 people at this thing. And I walked up and I was like, hey man, that's a sweet Sting jacket. And he had no clue what I was talking about. He just thought it was like a cool looking jacket with a scorpion on it. He had no idea who Sting was. And I was like, that is so weird. That like people, that happens too. I won't name names, but we've had that happen on our show. Even people wearing like band t-shirts, and we ask them about the band, and they're like, I think it's just a cool looking shirt. You know what I mean? Like, I just think it's really funny when people do stuff like that. Like, you know, like rep merch that they think looks cool, but like doesn't actually know what that is. They just think it looks cool, you know, which at the end of the day isn't that much different than wearing like a polo when you think about it, like a little little guy riding a horse. It's like,
it's a little different. I mean,
well, it is. It is. That's maybe not the best comparison, but my point is like really anything anyone wears. A lot of the time people are just wearing it because they think it looks good. Like, I don't really like supporting a guy. I'm not a fan of polo. You know, those people aren't fans of polo. They don't even know the rules to polo or what polo is, but like it's the logo of the shirt that they like, so they wear it and they think it's, you know, it's a status thing or whatever. Anyways, this is going down a whole rabbit hole that has nothing to do with wrestling. We will talk about wrestling here soon enough, y'all. We had a returning interview with Bobby Flaco at the end of the show as well, Action Wrestling World Champion, so please stick around for that.
Guys, leave a thumbs up on the video. That helps us out. Subscribe to the channel. And if you want to, leave a super chat. Get your question, comment, statement read on the air. We always like to be interactive with the chat regardless, but the super chats help out the staff. All right, let's get into things. Let's start with where we ended last night.
Over 1 million fans and a great number in the demo tuned in. It was a great show, and I think it's been a run of great shows.
AEW Dynamite, Fright Night Dynamite closed with the AEW debut of Bobby Lashley. Business is back with MVP and Shelton Benjamin after Swerve Strickland defeated Shelton Benjamin. It was teased for a long time. It was kind of a long time coming. People thought it might happen at Wrestle Dream, but they decided, hey, let's not kill multiple hometown babyfaces in Washington. So they held it off until last night for Fright Night Dynamite. What did you make of Bobby Lashley's debut, and what are you expecting out of Bobby Lashley in AEW, Jensen?
So obviously it was pretty predictable. Like, we knew Lashley was coming at some point soon, and I figured it was going to be last night, just kind of based on like when I realized like they did the tag title change like around like, you know, the 9 o'clock, 9:15 mark or whatever it was. And then they immediately started promoting the main event, and they had to do some stuff in between. But my buddy Mike Hughes was over, who I watch most AEW shows with, talk about him all the time. I would turn to him and I was like, there's still like 40 minutes in the show, and they're already talking about like next up is the main event. Like, there's no way they're going to do a 40-minute main event. Plus, they have the overrun. So it got me thinking, like, well, obviously Swerve and it just got my wheels spinning, basically thinking like that this would be a perfect opportunity for Lashley to appear. Like at the end of the show, it just kind of felt like it was setting up for that. And also, like, not that Shelton and Swerve shouldn't have been the main event, but like that being the main event of the show, plus knowing like there was going to be an overrun and there was like time left, I was like, this just feels like the perfect moment. And also, we're at the point where, you know, if Swerve has beaten Shelton and he's feuding with MVP, and MVP is like still trying to court him, or like they're fighting each other over him not wanting to come into the Hurt Syndicate, it makes sense that Lashley would be next. So like all this would be building to Swerve versus Lashley. So no surprises as far as him, you know, debuting. But he got a really good reaction, it seemed like, and he looked like a major star. I mean, he is a major star, but like they presented him like he was a humongous deal. He came out looking great in that suit, you know, looking as athletic as ever. You know, like we know what to expect out of Bobby Lashley. He's been doing this a long time, and you know, still in a lot of ways probably in like the prime of his career. Like, you know, I know he's been around a long time and stuff like that. Maybe not technically his prime, but maybe, you never know. I mean, he's still got a lot to offer. And obviously Shelton Benjamin has a ton to offer as well still. He's going out there and killing it every time he's wrestling for AEW. So, you know, I like this a lot. I'm happy that Lashley has debuted. I'm looking forward to him versus Swerve. I'm interested to see who ultimately wins that feud between those two. Because Swerve has been obviously former world champion and very you know, he deserves his spot and should be a top guy there. But also Lashley is kind of perennial main event level, you know, attraction talent, you know, since, you know, WWE to Bellator to TNA back to WWE. Like he's pretty much always been like a top guy. And I would expect the same with AEW. So yeah, I think it's a good thing for AEW that they have him. And I think it's cool that he's debuted. And once again, even though sometimes in wrestling, when things are predictable, it's not necessarily bad. Like, you know, if Bobby Lashley wouldn't have debuted last night, we'd be sitting here right now probably complaining that he hasn't debuted yet. You know what I mean? So yeah, I thought this came across great. How about you?
I thought it was very well done. You know, expected, which not necessarily a bad thing. And we were going to get there at some point with Lashley and AEW. We've talked about it before. I think WWE left a lot of meat on the bone with Hurt Business, especially in front of live audiences where they were never shown in front of live audiences. They were only during the pandemic era. They teased it for live audiences, but never actually reunited. So I think there's a lot the Hurt Business can do in AEW. I'm curious to see if they add another member. You know, MVP's been handing out the business card to people like Leo Rush and to Ricochet, it's Mercedes Moné. Like, we'll see if they add another member to the group. I would suspect Lashley wins the feud. I don't think you're going to bring in Lashley and have him lose immediately to Swerve, especially if Swerve doesn't have like any backup or anything like that. Swerve's pretty untouchable at this point. Like, he can lose and it'd be okay. I wouldn't just have Lashley immediately lose. And not to say he's not untouchable, but it's not the best look if Swerve is going to just go ahead and beat him. And then where do they go from there? Like, they just lost to one man, unless Swerve does end up having some type of backup. But for right now, what we know, he doesn't. So him losing to just one man when they have MVP, they have Shelton Benjamin. I'd put Lashley over because Swerve will be fine win or lose. Where Lashley, it's not that he'll be buried because that's a stupid term for it. But you got to be careful about having him lose his first kind of major feud like that.
Matthew Hooks in the comments says Lashley bringing up Hobbs as a mentor could be interesting. I like that idea a lot, actually. Hobbs might be a great fit. I'm wondering when is he gonna? He's supposed to be back soon, right?
He's cleared. He says he's cleared, so it's just a matter of when he ends up coming back.
I wonder if that was because he was a part of the Don Callis family when he went off TV, and Callis made that deal with Jake. Maybe he also made a deal with MVP. You know what I mean? Like that, they can maybe make sense of Hobbs being like traded to the Hurt Business base or the Hurt Syndicate, basically. I like the idea of Hobbs with those guys. I think that would be a good fit. I think Leo Rush makes all the sense in the world. I know that they did Leo versus Shelton, but obviously there's also the tie between Leo Rush and Lashley, him being his former manager in WWE and stuff. Like I think Leo's a shoe-in for that group. So I would definitely add Leo. I would personally add Hobbs as well. I hadn't even considered that, but they're gonna have to figure out something good to do with Hobbs on his way back in, because he's probably going to get lost in the mix if he comes back to the Don Callis family, because they have like a whole nother thing going with them now with Fletcher and with Archer and Cage and like the whole kind of new group that they have there. And then, so I think Hobbs is the guy that the company should be behind, like he's a long-term project for them, but at some point, like you gotta really go with him. And, AEW's got a huge roster. It's hard to get those top spots because there's so many people there. But, this is all to say, if Hobbs joining the Hurt Syndicate helps his career, then I would want to see him do it. And like MVP being his manager ringside, I think would be really good. I hadn't even considered that idea, but I think it's a really good idea, Matthew. But yeah, as far as anything else, I mean, like you mentioned, the Hurt Business could have done a lot more in the WWE. I feel so bad for Drew McIntyre from that era, even though it's kind of like helped him get to where he is currently. But that was such a bummer. Like seeing him, me and my brother always just call him COVID champ whenever, like, because it was like he was the COVID. He was out there busting his ass in front of no fans with that title belt, won the title belt in front of nobody over Brock, all this stuff. And then like the fans finally come back and they take the title off of him. And then they kind of drop the ball with the Hurt Business right after it was just kind of like a domino of like, damn, I feel like y'all really screw up a whole lot of people all at one time. So it's good to see that the Hurt Business is kind of getting a second chance. And I don't know why the hell they broke them up to begin with in the WWE. It didn't make sense at the time. It doesn't make sense now, especially when you see what we saw last night on Dynamite. And it's like, clearly they got plenty they can do with these guys. So, and delayed drafts. No, we have not talked about the ID program. We're going to talk about that next, though. So
it was a shame that they never got in front of fans, because they 100% should have been. Again, I thought they left some money on the table with Hurt Business and not reunited them in front of fans. But now WWE's loss is going to be AEW's gain, and I think AEW will serve them very well. And I trust the creative with them in AEW. As long as Bobby Lashley's not pitching ideas, they'll be okay.
As long as Lashley's not pitching the ideas, you said?
Yeah.
What were some of the bad ideas that he had? Yeah, I want to know. Was that like are you talking? Was it her business related stuff, or like? I mean, I guess you don't want to talk about it. All right, that's fine. I don't even know what you're talking about. I remember like the Rusev stuff being real bad. I don't think he had anything to do with like the writing of that though.
The Russo stuff.
Sorry, Rusev.
Oh, Rusev.
Remember how they had like that Lana storyline with Bobby Lashley and WWE? That was really bad.
Did you really not see this?
I really don't know what you're talking about. I legitimately don't. I mean, you might, when you say it, might remind me, but I don't know. Okay.
Bobby Lashley was on a podcast, the Lame Guys podcast, and he talks about an idea he had for Gunther, feuding with Gunther. And he said, they could have towed the line with some stuff. And I'll read it verbatim because
I have not even heard that. I legitimately haven't heard this. So,
okay. Yeah. All right. Well, get ready.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's hear it. Not heard this. Hold on. Let me find the quote. When Gunther was rolling, there was one thing I wanted to do with him, and everyone would have been like, oh, if we were still the Hurt Business, I was like, I want to roll up on him, and I want Gunther to say, people like you don't deserve a chance at my title. People would have been like, what did he say? We would have towed that line. If you think about it, the German and these black dudes, is there a little bit of racial tension there? We didn't have to go out there. What do you mean, people like you? He could be like older guys in wrestling. The crowd would have been like, did he say that? Then I was going to say, I think you look familiar, and do one of these. He holds his thumb to his top lip, indicating a mustache. There it is. I don't know if we could have went there, but if we could have, there would have been so many things you could toe the line with there. It could have been a huge feud.
Oh, when was I completely missed this.
Literally Tuesday.
Oh, that makes sense. Like 2 days ago, Tuesday?
Yeah.
That makes sense. I've been swamped with real world work and stuff. I have not seen, dude, that is one of the absolute worst ideas I've ever heard in my entire life. I can't believe that. Yeah, don't let him anywhere near booking anything. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that. That's honestly unbelievable. That's so, like, everything about that was a bad idea.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for educating me. And now that I know, so I don't sound stupid again if I talk to somebody about this in the future and I at least know what you're talking about. I have that is such a bad idea. I'm getting DMs right now. Oh yeah, it's your wife DM me. You're in for a treat before you started telling me that story. Yeah, see, that's what happens when you don't spend a lot of time online. You know, like I miss stuff like that, but that is, holy hell, was that a bad idea? I'm with you. They should not do anything like that. I definitely agree.
Real quick, Cupcake saying, any truth to Adam Cole being injured again? Well, he's wrestling next week against Malachi Black, so if he's injured, then they're not saying much. So they've booked him to wrestle next week.
Delayed grads with the obviously sarcasm. He made sure to say it, but the sarcasm, he says, "OMG, that would have been a great feat for the 2024 election year." Yeah, for real. What a bad. I mean, that's a bad idea to do that ever, right? But especially, man, Adam Cole being injured. Yeah, I don't think he's it. I will say, because this wasn't one of our AEW topics, I'll just quickly say, I hate's a strong word. I think I hate this Adam Cole story. I think I just hate it. Like, really? I don't care. Huh?
Really?
Dude, I don't need to see him pretending like he's hurt every match because he's fragile. He got his ass kicked during that match with Buddy last night. He got hit with his curb stomp over and over, and he was going to leave the match. He was hobbling out of there to the back, and then it was like he called him a bitch, and then he came back and beat him. And it's like, okay, like I'm probably being harsh on it. I like Adam Cole. I like Adam Cole as a person, and I've been a fan of his career, like throughout his whole career, really. I mean, I remember him in Nashville. I think I'm almost positive it was in Nashville where he beat a guy who probably shouldn't be named for the ROH World Title. And even back then, I was like, damn, this guy's like, he was like undersized or whatever. That was like the big knock on him, but he was like super, super talented. Actually, I remember him even before then when he was teaming with Kyle O'Reilly as Future Shock and thinking that those guys were both awesome. But like, my point is, this whole Adam Cole MJF thing just does nothing for me at this point. It's unfortunate. Like the timing of the injuries, the Devil storyline thing, them trying to explain the Devil storyline. MJF should never have been a babyface to begin with. Adam Cole still doesn't. I think Adam Cole's a way better heel than a babyface, but he's trying to be a sympathetic babyface right now. None of it works for me. And I like both guys. It's just unfortunately, and I don't like the whole me or Roddy has to win 3 matches first. The only way this would be like interesting to me is if Roddy somehow got like the 3 easiest opponents of all time. Like Adam Cole has to wrestle the whole House of Black, but Roddy gets like the Dark Order or something. You know what I mean? And it's like, or if the third match they had to wrestle each other, that would be maybe interesting, right? Like they're 2-2, and then like the first to 3 they have to wrestle each other for the third win. I think that might be kind of interesting, but as it is right now, especially with all the other stuff that I feel like is really good going on in AEW, this is like way down the list. And also MJF doesn't hold a championship or anything currently, but he's still able to make these stipulations. Like, if you want to get to me, you got to win 3 first. And it's like, I don't know. This doesn't work for me, brother.
I did find it odd last night when Cole was just going to like leave until Buddy Matthews called him a bitch. And I was like, if you're really okay to compete, shouldn't your desire to face MJF like make you push through that anyway? Like, you really want to face MJF. So why does it take Buddy Matthews calling you a bitch to be like, oh, you know what? I won't stand for that. Like, it made me think, like, well, you don't really want to face MJF that much if you were just going to walk out on this match and be like, yeah, I'm too hurt to continue. And I did like Cole's delivery and fire was really good in the promo, but him being like, you never called me when I was injured. Like, Roddy Strong kidnapped you and made you move furniture while your foot was broken. MJF couldn't call you, and you were plotting his demise the whole time. And then you turned on him. Like, I understand they want to wrap up that loose end. It felt like they should have just gone straight to that match and be like, you know what? We got something to settle. Let's just settle this and then wash their hands of it. To try to drag this out potentially to World's End, because it's at least going full gear. It's possible it goes to World's End. Like, oh, I don't know if you should really try to continue this any longer.
I agree 1,000,000%. It almost felt like whenever, I know they were just doing it as like a placeholder, but it almost felt like whenever MJF came back as a babyface and hit that brainbuster on Adam Cole right away when he came back, and then Adam Cole disappeared for a little bit longer, but then by the time he came back, MJF had turned back heel. So like all of it's just all super out of, you know what I mean? It's all, the whole thing's just out of whack. And at the end of the day, I don't care that much to see these two wrestle each other. Like, and once again, it's nothing against either guy. It's just like, what you say about Adam Cole is, I agree 100%, where it's like the whole point of the match with Buddy Murphy, when he called out Adam Cole, was literally saying, I'm going to prove how fragile you are. And Adam Cole proved it by wanting to leave the match. Like, he walked away with the referee all the way up the entrance ramp. He was going to leave until he was called a bitch. And then that was like the fire that he needed sparked to make his big comeback. So it just, yeah, not entertained, not very good, unfortunately, in my opinion. But I hope both guys recover from it. You know, I want them, honestly, best case scenario, the two of them have a match. It's a great match, and then they just move on.
What I did like from Dynamite was Private Party winning the AEW tag team titles, defeating the Young Bucks. Long time coming for them. I'm glad they pulled the trigger on these two winning the titles. I didn't think when this stipulation was set up and it was, oh, we're going to split up if we lose. I was like, well, they have to win this match. You can't split this team in the middle of this Moxley storyline where they're preaching unity. And they're, I mean, outside of Orange Cassidy and now Darby Allin, they're the biggest threats to Moxley in the group. No offense to Dark Order and Top Flight. Like, they're just, they're teams that get beat. And whereas Private Party and Garcia actually like have a little bit of equity and stock in the company where it's like, all right, maybe we won't beat them in 2 minutes flat. So splitting them in the middle of this would have been a bad idea. So them winning the titles was a very good idea. Well-deserved that they won. And then the Young Bucks decided, well, we did our job. Now we're not going to show up for the next few weeks.
Yeah, so I'm with you as far as like, I mean, I'm happy to see Private Party do this. They're day one AEW guys. I don't think it would have made sense to have them break up in the middle of this whole BCC feud either. So I think you're right on the money with that as well. I would imagine, and I think I've seen stuff reported on it about the Young Bucks and others in AEW that have like been pushing for Private Party to get this opportunity probably for a while now. So, you know, and it is well deserved. You know, they've lost a lot of time as a team because of injuries, mainly to Mark Quinn over the years. But like, do you remember when AEW first started and Private Party first hit like the national scene, and the roster wasn't like nearly as inflated as it is now? It was a lot more of like the original. I mean, it was literally the beginning of AEW. And a lot of people, myself included, thought that Mark Quinn was going to be like this massive singles breakout star. And that obviously didn't happen, but it also, he just got a lot of injuries over time too. And then they had Isaiah Cassidy doing kind of like the weird thing where he was kind of like a Hardy boy and in like the Matt Hardy family thing for like a long time and stuff. And it was just kind of unfortunate for both guys between injuries and weird booking, and the fact that they're finally just kind of back together as a tag team, having banger matches. They're the World Tag Team Champions again, or for the first time rather. Now finally, like I'm happy for those guys. And it's not like the AEW tag titles were in this position with the Young Bucks where it was like we got to take the titles off of them, or like they need to keep being the champions. It was just kind of the whole EVP takeover story we've talked about plenty. It just didn't work. Like the BCC thing they're doing right now, I think is a way better attempt at something similar. But it makes sense. Like, and with the Young Bucks look like they're going to leave for a little bit. It also seems like they turned babyface last night as well. Like they handed the titles right to Private Party after they lost, and then as they were leaving, Christopher Daniels was begging them to stay. Like, hey guys, we really need you. We need you most right now. Like, you do not leave. Please don't leave. And then Brandon Cutler was left behind and got the beat down. And, so I think it's pretty clear that the Young Bucks are, at the very least, they're tweeners at the moment. But I think that it's trending towards them being baby faces. And eventually it'll probably be this big, like, Elite versus BCC showdown or something. They got work to do though, obviously, because like Jack Perry's still very much a heel, Okada's still a heel, but they can, they got time to work with that. I'd kind of like to see them be tweeners if it's possible though, because you have, and I also like that there's all these factions in AEW too. It can get convoluted potentially, but I also think it could be really entertaining between BCC, Elite, the AEW baby faces, the Hurt Business or Hurt Syndicate. Like there's a lot of these good factions that have formed. But yeah, nonetheless, I am happy for Private Party. I'm interested that the Young Bucks have left and have basically turned babyface, and I don't know when they'll be back, but when they come back, I'd imagine it's going to be to confront the BCC. Like, I feel like the babyface AEW team will be getting beat down or something, and then the Elite will come out. Maybe they'll come back with Kenny. Like, I have no idea when Kenny's going to be back, but if there's any chance of him being back anytime soon, because like Kenny Omega is going to be a massive babyface, although they did turn on him. Like, unfortunately, there's a lot of stuff that AEW has done and will continue to do probably where it's like, they just realize they have to audible, like bad call, bad idea, times have changed or whatever. And they just kind of like, like the Chris Statlander thing. Like she never turned babyface. She just started being a babyface again. Like, but anyway, how do you feel about that going forward? Like, do you feel like the Elite is basically trending babyface now? And like, would you want to see them with Omega? I mean, they hit One Winged Angel during the match, I feel like they're alluding to that.
I didn't like the let me hand you the titles, and basically they babyface themselves on it. My thoughts have been very clear on the Elite and the whole storyline. I think they had a huge missed opportunity. I think they really dropped the ball on this whole thing. And now if they're just going to basically undo the work they did in April and just make them baby faces, it's like, all right, what was the point of the Tony Khan attack? What was the point of the Kenny Omega attack? Like, those were two big angles, and it's not rewarding as a viewer if, okay, well, now here's a bigger and better group that have come to do what we couldn't do. We're just going to be baby faces and we're going to save the company. Like, if that's where it ends, I think Kenny Omega babyface, fine. No issue with that. But like the Young Bucks being baby faces out of this so quickly as well. Like, it's, I don't like it. I'm kind of in agreement with Matthew Hooks. Is like, I don't think they're fully baby faces yet. I do think they're just chicken shit heels of, this doesn't concern us. AEW is too chaotic. They only attack people who are weaker than them, like Tony Khan, like a banged up Kenny Omega. But now they see the BCC and it's like, oh, they're full health. They're real renegades, right? Yeah, that's not for us. But where does that go? Like, where can you go with them when they eventually do return, outside of keeping them separated, or they end up turning babyface and they man up essentially and they confront the BCC. The handing the titles to Private Party was a babyface move. That's not a chicken shit heel move. That's a full on babyface. Like, you guys did it. You earned our respect. We thought you were, B+ players who would never win the big one, but you did it. Here you go. Congratulations, guys. Like, I didn't need that. I wish they would have sold just the loss a little bit more. And like, I was fine with them getting out of Dodge type of thing. And we'll see where it leads. They're going to be in Japan in January because they're announced for Wrestle Dynasty. So at the very least, they're going to be in Japan in 2 months. We'll see where it ends up going with everything. But I don't think them being the returning baby faces to confront BCC, I don't know if that should be the end goal.
Yeah, I'm with you on all of that. I mean, it feels really weird if they're the ones who, like, they really shouldn't be the ones to take down the BCC. They really shouldn't. It should be someone else. I feel like should get the rub from that. I don't know necessarily exactly who, but it'll most likely culminate with Darby Allin, eventually beating Jon Moxley for the AEW World Title. So, and I like the idea of that. But along the way, other people I hope get made as well. And I hope this really elevates guys like Daniel Garcia, for instance. But it's a really weird look if the Elite go from, attacking Tony Khan, putting him in neck brace and everything, their attempted a takeover. And then the BCC just does a way better version of it. So then they have to become baby faces to stop them and save the company. And then at the end of the day, like Tony Khan and the Young Bucks are, celebrating in the ring together or something that the AEW is saved. It would just be such a bad idea, I feel like. I will also say, someone in the chat, Delayed Gratz, says AEW's ability to pivot away from a stale storyline is a plus. I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad idea. It's just some of the stuff just doesn't make sense. And sometimes it just seems like a massive kind of cop out to get, like, sometimes stuff isn't explained at all. Sometimes it's explained a little bit. Sometimes the explanation doesn't make any sense. That's kind of more of like what I would have an issue with. Not necessarily. I like the idea of listening to the fans and pivoting away from stuff that isn't working. But this story is like, it is a weird look.
There has to be a balance for it when it comes to pivoting and then completely just dropping it. Because that's where I think a lot of fans get upset, and I think that it's justified being upset at storylines. But I think it's justified because if you do a storyline and you're asking fans to be invested in it, and then it's just dropped and there's no payoff, like, that hurts your fan engagement. Because then fans are like, well, okay, I got invested in this, and you gave me nothing. You didn't give me a conclusion, satisfying or not. You didn't give me a conclusion to this. Like, I'll use the Statlander and Stokely as an example of, they did all this work with Stokely, and then Statlander won the feud with Willow, and then it was like, anyway, we're just gonna drop away from Stokely. Like, there was no big breakup. I thought they did as well as maybe they could have explaining it, but maybe they could have given you more, because again, they gave you all this investment into the Statlander Stokely partnership, and then out of nowhere, it's just, anyway, I'm not with him anymore. It's like, huh? You're not gonna at least like do a segment backstage and then drop him like that? Delayed Rat saying, who's still invested in the Elite EVP story? No one, but that's right, because they've given you no reason to. That's the issue, is they have just dropped it. And that's where people aren't invested in it anymore. And that's the issue. It's not that oh, well, people aren't invested, so sure, they should go away from it. Yeah, people aren't invested because they did just kind of, they screwed it up. They didn't give you a reason to stay invested in it. And again, that hurts the engagement. That hurts the overall investment into things. Like, why am I going to invest in this if it's just going to be dropped into nothing? And what's the point? all right, I'll just kind of watch the show and move along with things. But it hurts the immersion in the story if you just drop stuff out of nowhere. Not everything's going to have the most satisfying conclusion in the world, but you should have conclusions to stuff, that especially when you put big segments into, when you put something like Tony Khan being attacked, Kenny Omega being attacked, you should have some type of conclusion to that storyline, some type of payoff to that storyline. And maybe it's coming. Maybe we don't know. They could find a way to figure it all out and wrap it all up and put a nice bow on things. If it's the Young Bucks being the conquering baby faces, are people going to be satisfied with that? I don't know. That's their own choice to make if that's what they'll be happy with. But I do think it's as of right now, it was a failed thing that they did with Tony Khan and Kenny Omega.
Yeah, I completely agree. The only thing that really came of that, and which really ultimately led nowhere anyways, was Tony wearing the neck brace for like the owners meetings or whatever, like the draft. Yeah. That's what it was. Yeah. I mean, and that was kind of interesting because you got guys like Rich Eisen, who follows wrestling a little bit, but some of the more of these like talking heads from like, the sports world, kind of talking about AEW and Tony Khan and stuff like that. It actually was a reminder for me to check my fantasy football team just now. I've got a guy on the Jags on my squad who's questionable, but yeah, I'm with you 100%. We're both in total agreement over this. I think the chat pretty much agrees as well. Like it is what it is. I think that I feel like that's where it's heading, is the Young Bucks as baby faces to try to combat the BCC. But I consider the EVP the storyline an overall failure for sure. Because even the big payoff of like Team AEW beating them at blood and guts really didn't seem like a huge deal. Like, it was a good match, don't get me wrong, but it didn't seem like it wasn't even like the most badass AEW team either. Like, they had like good people in there, but it was like, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, it just didn't feel like that big of a deal.
I thought they could have gotten more out of the Hangman and Elite stuff as well. Yeah. Like, they teased kind of like Hangman and Okada, and people are like, "Ooh, we're gonna get Hangman and Okada," and then no, like Hangman was just there. He was there for blood and guts. He was obviously there to get Swerve Strickland, but they teased like some tension and something more happening there, and never really gave you anything out of that. And I think that's disappointing. Like, they weren't forced to deliver on that. That was very much in fans' minds. Oh, we're going to get Hangman and Okada, but we can't lie and say it wasn't teased. They definitely teased the confrontation there. They teased Hangman kind of needing the Elite kind of needing Hangman, and then what's going to happen out of all this. And then nothing really came to a head. They just sort of went their separate ways without any further any further conflict or conclusion there. So,
yeah,
I thought they could have gotten more out of that, and they didn't. We'll see if they get circled back around to it, but we shall see. Bray and Jamie Hayter, I think injuries kind of got in the way of that one. That's a little, I can't fault them too much because Hayter ended up missing like a year out of that. So that's more of injury circumstances. Now, they haven't done anything since both have been back. Maybe they will, but yeah, that was more kind of injury circumstances there.
Yeah, there's nothing anyone can do about those. Obviously, like that's just part. Excuse me, that's just unfortunately part of the game, the injuries and having to take.
But then you see like they had injuries affect Adam Cole and MJF, and then once both men are back, it's like, all right, let's try to give you a conclusion to this. And so if they're gonna do that, which they are with Adam Cole and MJF, that's when you got to start having stuff make sense. If you're gonna try to put a bow on things, and then if you don't have stuff make sense, like we kind of talked about with the Adam Cole stuff, then it hurts it further. Like, sometimes you're almost just better of giving a short conclusion that makes sense instead of trying to build it. This is the thing with Stokely and Statlander again. I don't mind that if they're gonna split, they're gonna split. Fine. I think people wanted more of Statlander and Stokely having a face-to-face confrontation. Maybe it couldn't happen for other reasons, but I think people just wanted a little bit more of, hey, why doesn't she just like actually drop him? That would feel a little bit better than her just doing a backstage saying, anyway, we're not together anymore. I didn't like who I became, and now I don't need him anymore.
Yeah, and I agree with that, but at the same time, like sometimes the explanations are lame too, because like last night, Adam Cole giving that whole speech about, obviously the whole idea was going to be I had to turn on him before he turned on me. We all know that that's what this ultimately was going to boil down to. But for him to be like, we had to do what we had to do, and it was really hard sometimes, to execute the plans we needed to execute, and it's like, bro, y'all were throwing your peers through glass windows and through like windshields, and like these were like brutal attacks on people. They weren't like, but it was like, they basically treat it like it was necessary. Like, I don't know what the word is, cannon fodder or whatever. People just had to catch strays basically for the greater good. And it's like, y'all were super evil to the roster. It wasn't like a lighthearted, like a few people just barely got hurt. Like y'all were like literally, it was during the whole real glass, shenanigans and all that stuff too. But you know what I mean? It was just kind of like, this wasn't the plan all along, obviously, for AEW. They've had to pivot a few times because of injuries and because MJF shouldn't have been a babyface and this and that. So now I appreciate them trying to explain stuff, but even them trying to explain it, it's like Big Man Dogs has said a few times in the chat, MJF is the babyface. It depends on how you look at it, right? But I think AEW is clearly trying to position it like MJF is the heel and Adam Cole is the babyface. But I something like the Swerve and Hangman storyline, I feel like was a lot more gray area for both guys. But that was kind of more choose whose side you're on based on how you feel about what these guys have done to one another. Whereas I feel like AEW is clearly trying to draw the line of MJF is the heel and Adam Cole is the babyface at this point.
Delayed Grat saying with the heel BCC and Hurt Syndicate monster factions, you need powerful baby faces, and the Elite becoming babyface again provides a logical answer. I don't disagree that the Elite being babyfaces makes sense as them just, they're the Elite. It's easy to get behind and root for the Elite. They're the reason AEW exists, right? On screen and to a big credit off screen as well. Sure. But the problem with the Elite being the big conquering baby faces is what they did as heels. They wanted to retire Sting. They basically did. He was in their last match. But, everything they did with Sting and Darby, what they did to Tony Khan, what they did to Kenny Omega, those are on-screen evidence that we have of them being basically the worst people in the world.
Right.
If you think about it, if you think about what they did on screen as heels, they did far worse than what BCC is doing. Far worse. BCC, okay, they're just attacking people. Sure. I mean, they're killing Bryan Danielson. That is a step far. They're trying to kill Chuck Taylor. That's pretty far. But is it really any worse than a defenseless Tony Khan? A defenseless Kenny Omega? Tony Khan, who everyone knows is the owner of the company, Kenny Omega, a fellow EVP. Is it
who had diverticulitis when you attacked him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, is it that much worse? Like,
no, it's the same level pretty much apples to apples. I would agree with that. Yeah.
So them just being the conquering baby faces less than a year potentially after all of that is, I don't know. Look, I'm with you, Delayed Grats. Kenny Omega returns going to be huge. 100%. Kenny Omega being the conquering babyface, I'm all for it. I'm all for Kenny Omega being the big conquering babyface out of this. I don't think it could be as simple as, you guys, we're all cool here. Let's all be friends again. They did some despicable shit. There's got to be some consequences for that. And Kenny Omega just being like, is what it is, guys. It doesn't, to me, it's not rewarding. It's just not.
I'm with you. And last thing I'll say, because I know we got to move on to some other topics, but just, last week I mentioned how I felt like the person, they've been alluding to torturing Orange Cassidy, the BCC, for weeks and taking out Bryan Danielson and taking out Chuck Taylor. But I also mentioned, I was like, they might really be torturing Yuta because these same people are Yuta's mentors. And then last night, they put the chair around his neck, and it seems more like it was a bait move. Like they were doing that to lure out Orange Cassidy. But just something to keep your eyes on, y'all. I mean, I think as of right now, because Yuta's still, engaging with their attacks, and it feels like he's still on the same page with them for the most part. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if eventually they just beat the hell out of that guy, and they were like, "We got everything we needed. We used you. We got everything we needed to out of you." You know what I mean? Like, I just want to throw that out there because all the same people that are close to Orange Cassidy are also close to Wheeler Yuta. And Big Man Dog says it was a bait move, but Yuta wasn't in on it. See, I actually even like that idea even better, honestly, if that is the case. They haven't really explained that, but by Yuta's reaction, it kind of seemed like that. I think that's best case scenario is that they keep using Yuta and basically treating him however they want to and using him as bait against his friends like Orange Cassidy to get to them. And then when they're done needing him, they trash him too. You know what I mean? Like honestly, whatever route they go, I hope it's just beneficial to Yuta in the long run because I'm a big fan of his. I was a big fan of his pre AEW. You know what I mean? I want Yuta to get a push, and I like him as a part of AEW. So Yuta is just something. He's a very interesting piece in this whole puzzle that I think people really need to be paying attention to.
Yeah. You mentioned last week about them torturing Yuta, and last night that really connected even more when they used Yuta to basically lure out Orange Cassidy and so they could beat down Orange Cassidy. And then you had the dorks come out, no offense to Dark Order and Top Flight, but like, okay. Until finally Darby made the save as he was hanging from the rafters there. That was a visual.
Hell yeah.
But I'm glad Darby, obviously a big name. Orange Cassidy, obviously a big name. They're elevating Daniel Garcia. They're elevating Private Party out of all of this. Hopefully that continues, and hopefully whoever dethrones the BCC, whether it's Kenny Omega, whether it's maybe Hangman Page turns babyface and is a kind of a conquering hero out of all of this, we shall see. Or maybe it is the Elite. Maybe the Elite have to save the world and save AEW once again. Feels like you can put someone else in that position and get other people moreover in there outside of the Young Bucks and the Elite overall. Like if it's Kenny, it's Kenny. I got no issue with it being Kenny. I said this yesterday online. I don't think it can be understated how much AEW misses Kenny Omega and how much they have missed him during all the hiatuses he's had to take due to injuries and things. Kenny Omega is the most complete wrestler they have. He's the most intricate with his stories wrestler that they have. And he really embodies what AEW, was from the start. And when they don't have him, they lose something when he's gone. Because he actually puts a lot of thought into, again, the matches, the stories, and he has a connection with that core audience that no one else really has. Cody had it until Cody decided he wasn't going to win the world title and then kind of be heel. And then the company shifted in 2021, but Kenny never lost it. And every time he's gone, they've lost something.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Kenny Omega is going to be a big part of the story. And also, like I said, I think ultimately Darby is going to be the one to beat Moxley for the title. I feel like they've just set that up way too perfect for them not to do that. So I think there's going to be a good amount of people that are going to benefit from this whole thing. We're just cautious or pessimistic or whatever you want to say about the Elite, the rest of the Elite, because of them being heels and everything we've already mentioned. But yeah, I'm with you. We'll see how it plays out next week.
Jeff Jarrett should save the company.
I need to finish the story. in the WWE, the story never finishes.
Cody Rhodes and Gunther at WWE Crown Jewel champion versus champion. Cody has said there will be a decisive winner. Are you going to be upset when Gunther wins on Saturday?
So this is an interesting one, right? Because the gut instinct for something like this would be, well, just, there will be no actual winner, or there's going to be a no contest or a DQ or something like that. But I don't feel like the Saudi kingdom is going to be shelling out the money that they shell out for these events and putting this championship on television and trying to hype this whole crown jewel title belt and all this stuff for them not to have a definitive winner. So I do think there will be a definitive winner for both the men and the women. So full disclosure, and probably everyone agrees with this, maybe not, but I think most people probably do. I hate the idea of doing championship versus champion stuff when neither title is on the line. And either both titles need to be on the line, or you probably just shouldn't do it at all, because automatically someone's getting devalued by taking the loss. Like one title belt, one champion is going to look better than the other champion. Now, granted, I think, there's obviously, I shouldn't say I think, there absolutely is a higher level of prestige in the championship that Cody holds because of the lineage of the WWE championship and what Roman did with those titles and how Cody beat him at WrestleMania and finished the story and all that stuff. And the title that Gunther holds has only been around for a couple years, but it's been a good title belt. It's not like I'm trashing the World Heavyweight title. It's just, I don't see the two belts on the same level at all, but it is the main title for Raw. And I do love Gunther. So it's one of those things where, like, I want Gunther to be successful. And honestly, full disclosure, if I wasn't like the biggest Cody Rhodes fan in the world, I might even be advocating for Gunther to win this, because it would help him with the perception of, like, wow, Gunther, like, this title belt means as much as the other one. Gunther beat Cody, and I think Gunther is legitimately one of the best wrestlers in the entire world. I am a huge fan of his. He's definitely like my top 5 guys in the company for sure. So I want to say all that. I'm a fan of Gunther. I like what he does. And even at the end of the day, like, it wouldn't be the end of the world if Gunther beat Cody. It wouldn't, but I just don't see it happening. I don't see Cody losing when, around the corner you have him and The Rock, him and Roman again, some sort of triple threat potentially. They're just kind of bigger things on the horizon for Cody heading into the Royal Rumble and into WrestleMania. So I just feel like they're not going to have Cody lose. And I don't think The Rock would want to have Cody losing before he comes back and wrestles him and stuff. But believe it or not, I wouldn't have a humongous problem with Gunther beating Cody, even though I'm obviously Team Cody. I want Cody to win everything, but Gunther's one of the rare exceptions of somebody that, like, he deserves. Like, I would be okay with Gunther beating Cody. It wouldn't be the end of the world. I don't see it happening, though. I do think Cody's going to win.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I think Gunther's winning.
I mean, it's definitely possible. Like I said, I don't think it's a bad idea necessarily. I just don't see The Rock and the decision makers and stuff being like, we want Cody losing right before I come back.
Rock doesn't care.
I mean, I think he cares because he's going to want the biggest match for himself. And it's a bigger match if Cody hasn't lost, all year from WrestleMania to WrestleMania or whatever.
But he has. He got pinned by Solo.
Was that wasn't a one-on-one match, though, was it?
No, it was a 6-man, but he still got pinned.
Yeah, but that was all. But then ultimately, Cody's beat Solo multiple times and defended his title over him and stuff like that. That wasn't a big deal.
Sure,
but Gunther beating Cody like one-on-one clean, especially if you just like went out there and just beat him in a back and forth match.
I don't think it's going to be clean. Cody said to fight decisive. That doesn't really mean clean.
Sure, I mean, I guess there could be shenanigans.
There's a Kevin Owens factor. We know Owens is going to face Orton at the show. Like,
right.
There's very, very real potential that Kevin Owens gets involved and costs Cody in some capacity.
If that happens, I'm 100% okay with it. That protects Cody. Gunther still gets a W, and it furthers along Owens versus Cody, which we got recently, but now the dynamic has obviously changed with Owens turning heel. If that's the scenario that goes, because I do expect Owens to beat Orton on the same show. So if Owens comes out and he helps cost Cody the match and Gunther wins, I think that's a good. I wouldn't have an issue with that. I think that makes sense.
I'm fairly confident Gunther is going to win this match.
Goldberg, Spears, Gunther. A lot of people calling that.
Goldberg's not going to be there. I'm going to go ahead and dead that right now. Goldberg's getting inducted into like the Georgia Hall of Fame this weekend. He's not going to be in Saudi Arabia.
For what? For football?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't expect Goldberg to be there either, just for what it's worth.
I'm literally telling you he's not going to be there.
Yeah, well, I'm reaffirming that to the chat. I don't think he's going to be there either, guys. I think, I mean, I'll put it that way then. If it's a one-on-one match where there's no interference, no shenanigans, Cody needs to win. If not, if Owens helps in that furthers along Owens versus Cody and Gunther gets the win, I got no problem with that at all. Yeah, and unfortunately, this title belt's going to be nothing because we'll never see it again after this show. The crown jewel title, but
I think Cody's done a good job of trying to add prestige to the title. Like Cody versus Gunther, champion versus champion, should be a big deal. Making it for this title doesn't feel like a big deal, but I've mentioned this elsewhere. Is if they treat this crown jewel championship like basically it's the Stanley Cup, like I think it can be a cool thing. You get your name etched on it, like you do the Stanley Cup, and like you only see it for one time a year, but it's champion versus champion every single year. It forces itself to be a big deal instead of where, the champion, you're basically the Eastern Conference champion, the Western Conference champion. Like you can make this a big deal. And I think both guys have tried their best to do it. It just doesn't feel like a big deal because it's getting in the way of the stories they're telling with Cody and with Gunther, opposite of this actual story. And it feels cheapened because it's Saudi Arabia. Like, let's just call it what it is. This just feels like a move where the Saudis wanted some gaudy looking title and WWE was like, all right, sure, you're paying us millions, so why not? Let's do it. I think that's an issue when it comes to this as well. But like, I think you can make it special. You can make it worthwhile. It's not going to happen in 1 year, but 5 years from now, if they keep up with this thing, and again, they treat it like it's hey, this is our Stanley Cup final, this is our NBA final, this is our Super Bowl kind of championship here. Again, it becomes special in that. The problem is they call WrestleMania their Super Bowl, so it doesn't feel like it's quite as big, but they're trying. I'll give Cody and Gunther credit for the work they've put in trying to make this title mean something.
Yeah, that's good on them. And I mean, this is not a new thing with Saudi Arabia. It just in general with like their whatever you want to call it, their what's the right word? Like their I don't even know what the word is. Basically, how involved they've gotten in with like sports and entertainment in recent years. Because it's not just the WWE; it's like golf and UFC, and I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff that they're doing. Boxing, they're doing a lot of stuff now. Apparently, Dana White has partnered with them because they've already been doing stuff with the UFC, and apparently, Dana White is going to be responsible for like promoting the big boxing events going forward for Saudi Arabia. Because like all the promoters, obviously historically in boxing, it's always been a problem. Promoters not wanting their fighters to fight other fighters, and it makes it difficult to make the best fights happen and stuff. But Saudi Arabia, they have so much money, the people making these decisions that want this stuff over there, that they're able to just outbid everyone now, which is, I mean, pretty cool in some senses and a little scary in other senses. Like, I don't know if it's the best thing for all the sports to have this stuff going on, but at the same time, the athletes are getting paid a lot of money to go over there and do this stuff too. So, I mean, there's a yin and a yang to it, but I think that, my whole point with saying this is that it's not surprising that they wanted like this championship belt or some sort of extra prestige or something tied to the event, because it's the same. I don't know if it's the same exact person, but it's like the same team of people that back when they first started doing these with like the Greatest Royal Rumble, and they gave the WWE a list of people they wanted on the show, and like Yokozuna was on it. And so they sent out a guy who looked kind of like Yokozuna. Like, you know what I mean? Like, So it's they in their minds they just want the biggest, the flashiest, the most like they want everything to feel like a Super Bowl type event, because they have the money to be able to pull that stuff off. So I mean they lured Shawn Michaels out of retirement, for God's sake. I mean that, you know, I don't know how much he got paid for that, but I guarantee it was in the millions for that one appearance. So like it's not surprising that they wanted to introduce. I mean, they had that title belt that Braun Strowman won for the Greatest Royal Rumble that we never saw again and stuff. So it's not surprising they want something like this. But I'm with you where if they make it kind of like a Stanley Cup where we only see it once a year, they should do the same thing with the Continental Classic. By the way, that title belt that Okada has, like, it should be the same type of concept. Like, you only see that once a year for the tournament. The winner carries it around for maybe the next week on TV or whatever. You etch your name into it. And then that's that. Like, you're cemented in history as a former winner of that thing. And year after year, the more that they do it, the more the prestige raises of the thing. And so I'm with you with that. I would like it to be treated like a Stanley Cup. I think that'd be a good idea, because obviously it's not going to be a part of the everyday WWE show, because you're not going to have Gunther or Cody carrying that around and also their world title, but they're not doing anything with the Crown Jewel title until the next, Saudi show or whatever. So I'm with you. I think the Stanley Cup type concept could work well.
Other WWE spotlight is WWE ID Independent Development. They announced that they are partnering with a handful of schools, including Seth Rollins' Black and Brave, including Cody's Nightmare Factory, Booker T's Reality of Wrestling. And it's another kind of entry point for independent wrestlers if they choose to go this route. Jensen, I know you extensively cover the independent scene. What were your thoughts when you read this news?
So I'm way more optimistic about it than others, I think, are. And I shouldn't say others. Like, I've seen a lot of people that are very optimistic about it. And we actually talk about it in the interview with Bobby Flaco you're about to hear. He gives his opinion on it as well. So I understand some potential concerns as far as, like, a WWE, like, technically a WWE contracted independent wrestler going on a show and the WWE maybe wanting them to not lose matches or something like that, or like there may be a conflict of booking or whatever, or there might be people fear that it could. We talk about it in the interview. You bring it up about how people fear it might be similar to the UK scene, where it kind of dried up the indie scene whenever the WWE came to town and started the UK brand. I don't have those same concerns though, because I think that worldwide the indie scenes have been thriving, in my opinion, at least from the outside looking in, and from, I guess technically I'm on the inside a bit as well with like the coverage and knowing the promoters and interviewing as many wrestlers as we have and stuff. But like I think especially in the US, I feel like the indie scene is really, really thriving. There's so many independent companies, there's so many independent shows, there's so much distribution for it between IWTV and Triller TV Plus and YouTube and individual websites, DPW on demand, and blah blah. So on is there's just so much. There's so many places you can find it, and so many of these wrestlers are getting paid, and so it's. I have a hard time believing that WWE doing this is going to be a net negative on the indie scene, because I don't think that they're gonna like take over the entire independent scene. I think that they're gonna work with a handful of trusted schools, and they'll probably make some signings based off recommendations from people at those schools. And then I think that there's going to be some kind of like rogue, individual independent wrestlers. I don't have any names. I haven't asked around, but I know apparently there are some people that have already signed to this thing and we just didn't know. And I feel like that doesn't necessarily mean they have to come from the Nightmare Factory. They have to come from Black and Brave. If you got a guy, like, I'm just going to throw a name out there. This is a complete hypothetical, but a guy that I feel like should be on everyone's radar, currently out with injury, but I talk about it all the time. A guy like Joshua Bishop. He's not linked to any of those schools, but there's no way that like there's not like eyes on him. You know what I mean? Like, so I feel like someone like that might still wind up in a deal like that potentially, even though they're not tied to those schools. So it's like, I think that it's a lot of opportunity for a lot of people. And if you want to go to the WWE, it's a good way in, potentially, and not everyone's going to want to go to the WWE. Not everyone's going to want to sign a deal like this. It might deter some people from maybe going to some of those schools. Like, maybe someone's interested in training at Black and Brave or the Nightmare Factory or Reality of Wrestling, but they're like, yeah, these are great schools. This would be a great opportunity, but like but my route, I really want to work more independence. I really want to go maybe the AEW route, maybe the New Japan route. So like maybe you don't want to be linked right into the WWE system either. I don't know. Everyone's prerogatives are going to be different. Everyone's career paths are going to be different. Their aspirations, their goals, it's all going to be different for everybody. But I feel like I know there are a lot of independent talents who ultimately want to go to the WWE. That is their end goal, is to be a part of the WWE system. So the fact that there is a kind of more of a pipeline now to get into the WWE and continue to work independent dates without having to like move to Orlando and have to be in the performance center and have to do level up and all this stuff. Like you might eventually have to do that, but for the time being, you can keep working indie dates, sell your own merch. Oh, I don't know how the merch split works or whatever, to be fair, but you know what I mean? You basically get to keep doing your independent career, but you have the backing of the WWE. This is actually what they used to do way back in the day that people might not even realize ever happened. But like years and years and years ago, back before WWE really had their own developmental, and I'm not even talking like WWE, FCW, OVW. I'm talking about before all that, when they started signing guys like Mark Henry and guys like Edge and Christian and stuff like that. If I remember correctly, I remember Edge talking about in old interviews about how he got signed to the WWE, but then he was still working indie dates, but WWE was paying him like a few $100s or whatever to do his indie appearances. So like I'm not saying there's always been this relationship, because obviously there hasn't, but they have kind of tinkered with ideas like this over time. And I feel like now it makes perfect sense. Like what's the downside of a talent like a Josh? Once again, this is completely hypothetical. I'm just using his name because he's such a stud. But like a guy like Joshua Bishop, what's the downside of a guy like him making some extra money, WWE helping him out, and him knowing that like eventually he might get the call from those same people saying, "Hey, we've been watching you. You've been doing great. We're ready for you to to make the move to us." Like how could that possibly be a bad thing? You know what I mean?
I think the issue that a lot of people are going to have is the world of independent wrestling is so big and vast, and you're able to go various places and really kind of find yourself and find who you are as a wrestler, as a character, and whatever it might be. And that's going to potentially be stifled a little bit if you know that, hey, whatever I do here isn't going to lead to WWE. Maybe not everybody wants to go to WWE. I know that is an argument. It's like not everybody does want to go to WWE, but that is where you're going to make the most money. That is where you can call yourself a full-time professional wrestler. There's AEW affords that opportunity as well. And look, there's only so many spots in either of these companies, but if you want to, WWE is the top company. It just is. And now those opportunities might be stifled a little bit because people are going to be like, well, I can't go to this school or this promotion or that promotion because they're not a WWE affiliated school. So now I'm just going to go to this WWE affiliated school because at the end of the day, I want to be in WWE, and this is where I have to go to be in WWE. Every independent wrestler is going to make their own decision when it comes to this. There's no one catch-all way to get into WWE. This certainly makes it seem that way, but I would like to believe, maybe foolishly, if you're talented enough and you can make a big enough name for yourself, whether it be in an American independent scene, in Japan, in Mexico, WWE is going to look at you and be like, all right, you know what? We do actually want you. Like Stephanie Becker, Julia, Zarya, former Delta. They didn't go to one of these schools. Obviously, the program didn't exist, but they wrestled elsewhere. They wrestled overseas and everything. And WWE looked at them. And they're like, all right, yeah, you've done enough here. You've established your name well enough here. We see the potential in you. We want to sign you. But I do think it could hurt the independent scene, just in a lot of people are going to be like, well, this is my entry point into WWE. Why am I going to go anywhere else? Why am I going to try anywhere else. They aren't WWE affiliated. They're not part of WWE ID. So I don't want to go there. And I think that's gonna hurt to in some regards. For WWE, I completely get their move. It's basically it's a continued feeder system, right? It's a ladder. First it was NXT and the Performance Center, but they started focusing so much on taking NIL athletes that it's not that they didn't go after the independent people, but their goal was so much just focused on collegiate athletes who maybe didn't have a future in that sport. Now they can still go after those athletes, but they can go after independent wrestlers. And instead of immediately bringing them into the Performance Center, hey, why don't you go to the Nightmare Factory? Hey, why don't you go to Reality of Wrestling? And then after you maybe accomplish all you can accomplish there, hey, now come to the Performance Center. And then after you do enough on NXT and Performance Center, hey, now you move up and you're on the main roster. It's just, it works like any other sport when it comes to a minor league system. You go from AAA to AA to the MLB. That's what they're trying to accomplish here. I understand their point of doing it. I do think the independents are going to be hurt to a certain extent. I do think a little bit of it is overblown, but I do understand as a promoter and a different school why you might have a concern with it.
Yeah, it's possible. I think overall it's a lot more of a net positive, especially because like a lot of these, I shouldn't say everyone's different, like we mentioned, but there's going to be a lot of talents out there that could use the help. Like just like if the WWE, like let's just say this once again is completely hypothetical. Someone like Zilla Fatu, for instance. Zilla Fatu trained at Reality of Wrestling. He was, he's still on the independent scene right now, has less than 40 matches, had some sort of falling out recently with GCW where they're not booking him anymore. And it sounds by what Brett Lauderdale was saying, it had to do with like travel accommodations and stuff that they really don't give to people that have had, 30 matches at the time or whatever. It's just, they don't do that for anybody. So they weren't going to do it for Zilla. I might not know the whole story there. There might be another side to that, but that's kind of the story that's out there. The reason that I bring that up though, is because let's say Zilla is signed to the ID program. Now that might not be an issue because WWE might just cover the travel. You know what I mean? Like there's going to be things I think the WWE is going to help with where these indie wrestlers can make, they're not going to have to worry. If you're under that deal, you don't have to worry as much about, your own booking fees and rates. You don't have to worry as much about making it, paycheck to paycheck, city to city, where like, you have a little bit of a WWE help coming in also,
Which we don't know about is the thing.
Right.
I agree with you. If WWE actually is kind of covering some cost and helping out in this way, I think it's way more beneficial because, yeah, maybe some wrestlers aren't living paycheck to paycheck like a lot of independent wrestlers are. But if WWE isn't actually assisting as much on that, then it just feels like, okay, again, you're just going through a WWE system. But if you're not reaping any WWE benefits from that, it doesn't change a whole lot.
Right. I mean, that's my whole thing is like that. It depends on how they're helping the independent talents, because if it's just as simple as like you sign to the WWE, but nothing really changes about, the way that your independent career pans out or like your pay for the independents or whatever. And all you're really doing is just making a commitment to the WWE. That would be not beneficial to the talents to do that, because now you're locking yourself into a commitment that isn't really benefiting you at all in the short term. It might in the long term, but it might also really hinder you in the short and long term, because if you decide and it's publicly known and you're under a contract of I'm signed to the WWE ID, but I'm not getting any actual benefits from it, but like AEW comes around, for instance, and says, hey, we're interested in signing you. And you go, well, I can't sign with you because I'm signed to the WWE. That could be a problem. But I feel like, I can't speak for anybody, but I feel like the majority of the talents that the WWE would be interested in signing to a deal like this, a lot of them will have to make that decision based on how much help the WWE is going to give them while they're under the deal. Because some people, it's not going to be beneficial. If like WWE is like, yeah, we don't cover travel or this or that. I think they're going to, though. That's my assumption, is that they're going to help with that kind of stuff. Which, I mean, because I don't know why else they would why else you would. Because the only other benefit of signing a deal like that is just knowing the WWE wants you. But
yeah,
you can do that without signing a deal. Like if you know that they want you and you don't sign the deal, you know that their eyes are already on you without signing a deal.
Yeah, but now if you're an independent wrestler, there's concrete evidence that they want you. Where before it was, yeah, okay, let me go to this school. Obviously, you probably have a better in if you're at like Nightmare Factory or you're at a school where people have a WWE affiliated person with them. But now there's concrete evidence of, oh, I'm part of the program. Or if I go to another school, then it's like, well, now I'm 7th on the list of schools they might be looking at. At the very least, I'm 7th on the list because they're obviously going to look at the schools that they are affiliated with first. That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I agree, but I also don't think it's going to deter them from seeing the stars and the indies that aren't affiliated with those schools. It's not like it's going to make them blind to those people, and those people have no chance of getting a deal. I feel like there's still going to be that possibility. I don't know how the system is going to work. It's a brand new thing that we're all figuring out as it goes, but I just, once again, it's an assumption. I know you shouldn't assume. It makes an ass out of you and me. I get all that, but like, I don't know why, like a top independent talent, I can understand like a brand new person that's training at one of these schools. If like the right people see them super early on before they've really made a name for themselves in the indies and the WWE wants to sign them super, super early and really develop them, that's one thing. But if you're already like a well-established name on the indie scene, there is no benefit to signing a deal like this unless the WWE is going to financially help you out while you're under that deal. Because otherwise, you're just going to carry on with your indie career, do it yourself, and then try to get a contract how you would normally have gotten a contract up to this point.
I don't think they're worried about top independent names on the scene, though. That's not their goal right now because those guys are established. Those are like, that is what it is. The people they are targeting are the new people who are coming in, or are the people who maybe haven't caught on at a GCW or anywhere else. Like that's the people that they're looking at. They're not concerned. I'll use Effie as an example. They're not concerned if Effie signs one of these deals. Effie's doing his own thing. They are concerned if, you know, Stephen, what's her name, is going to sign one of these deals. That's who they're looking at. It's less about hurting the indies potentially now and more about hurting the indies potentially 2 years from now.
Yeah. We'll see how, well, I mean, this is a legitimate thing. We have to see how it plays out because we don't know enough about how this is going to work short or long term for anybody. So, I personally think it's going to be a good thing, but I understand that there could be negatives to it. But we literally have to see how this works and who gets signed and what their careers look like before we can really make much of a judgment.
All right, we have to quickly move on.
Yeah, super fast.
Our product is what it is. We're going straight up the middle.
Joe Hendry didn't win the TNA title. LOL to TNA.
Rip Bozo. If you're a TNA fan, I feel bad for you. I'm a TNA fan. I covered the show. I was on the post show right after Bound for Glory. It seemed pretty much like the consensus of everybody involved wanted to see Joe Hendry win that championship, and it still has not happened. Probably not a good move. I mean, you don't want to do this. You don't want to wait until like it's not cool anymore for Joe Hendry to win it, or that he is basically gone to NXT by the time you want to pull the trigger on the guy. So, I mean, maybe they have the reasons for not doing it, but to me, it seems like they're prolonging the Joe Hendry title win. Like he's still going to eventually win the championship. They just keep pushing it back, but I don't think that's a good idea. So maybe he's just going straight to NXT and that's why they haven't done it. I mean, maybe that's the case. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it feels like they should have at some point in the last 6 months, Joe Hendry probably should have won the TNA. He should have won it. I think it was Slammiversary, whatever the show was where they had the multi-man match that Josh Alexander turned heel on him, and like he probably should have won that match when he was at like his peak of like his peak hotness and like between like NXT and TNA. But yeah, I believe in Joe Hendry, but I think a lot of people are kind of losing faith, unfortunately, because he cannot win the big one.
I don't know if he's going to win the title. I really don't. It feels like Mike Santana is probably next up for the title. and I don't know if or when Hendry actually gets it.
Yeah, Santana. I know Joel's been talking about Santana for pretty much. Santana came into TNA about his trajectory, and I think Joel's been on the money with that. I think that Santana makes sense for being up next.
And the other topic is Bully Ray and NXT Bully Ray and ECW, I should say, taking over NXT. Bully Ray in the year 2024, teaming with Trick Williams against Ridge Holland and Ethan Page in a show that's going head to head with AEW Dynamite next week.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much I can't really add much to that. It does. I mean, I get that they're doing the ECW arena, and it's cool that there's going to be some nostalgia and stuff like that. You know, I've had enough of all the ECW nostalgia and reunions and all that stuff. But this is a little different than that is, to be fair. But like, I love ECW when it's around. It's been dead for a very long time now, and you know, I don't get really anything out of seeing Bully Ray involved with NXT at all. He got no pop at Halloween Havoc when he came out at the end of that show, and it's basically getting the same no pop when he pops up in GCW. It's just I wouldn't be involving Bully Ray personally. I mean, it's not like I hate Bully Ray. Bully Ray had a good match with Psycho Boy Fodder recently. Like he had
a great match with Jinder Mahal, that tables match.
Was that the MLP?
Yeah.
Oh God. So yeah, the point proven. Bully Ray just probably shouldn't be involved with NXT to begin with. That's my opinion.
I've said this and I maintain this. WWE and NXT are using ECW for this head-to-head against AEW so they can say, wow, you beat a brand that was dead 30 years ago, or LOL, you lost to a brand that was dead 30 years ago. That's my perspective on it.
Yeah, that's about right.
I'm going to give a big motherfucking shout out.
Nick Gage is actually back. That's not one of our topics, but he's been in the news.
Yeah,
a couple of days.
Yeah, I thought about using that as a topic, but we'll talk about that, I'm sure, in the future. But Nick Gage no longer in GCW apparently, which is very interesting. I'll just rifle through the. I know. Well, you know what? I'm going to do my topic with Kylie. I'll have you cover Ricky just because I gotta clock in for work, but. My indie spotlight this week was Kylie Ray. Congratulations for winning the Freelance World Championship for the third time. Defeated Storm Grayson at the most recent Freelance show. It's available on IWTV. Use code Fight Talk. It's a great match. You know, basically what winds up happening is Isaiah Velasquez gets he interferes during the match and winds up getting handcuffed to the bottom rope and literally has to watch as Storm Grayson taps out to Kylie Ray with her crossface. And like an added bonus was because this feud's been ongoing for like a long time between Storm Grayson. Storm Grayson was a champion for a long time in Freelance, had a really good title run, but he finally lost the title to Kylie, which was like pretty clearly the end game for this whole story was Kylie eventually winning this. And it came across really well. He hugged her after the match, you know, a big happy moment. And then Kylie at the end of the show is celebrating on the turnbuckles while Isaiah is literally handcuffed underneath her, looking up at her while she's celebrating, which I thought was a nice touch. And just a nice thing for Kylie. I mean, Kylie Ray means a lot to like the wrestling world, but like especially like the Chicago indie scene and stuff. Anyone who's ever trained with her or has worked with her, especially in that area, always brings her up as like as an inspiration, as somebody who's really helped them out. Always, you know, really, really high praise for Kylie. And she's also the first ever 3-time Freelance World Champion now, which says a lot in itself that they have so much trust in her to be a face of their brand. So yeah, congratulations to Kylie Ray. She's one of the best independent wrestlers out there, and somebody who, you know, we're not going to get into all that stuff, but like there's been pockets of time where it really seemed like she was going to be a massive TV star in multiple different companies. And for whatever reasons that hasn't been the case, but she's always been a staple of the independent scene, especially in the Chicago area. So it makes all the sense in the world that she's the Freelance champion again. And I'm looking forward to her title run.
A lot of people have called Kylie Ray the best like unsigned female wrestler out there. Like a lot of smart people.
Yeah.
And I don't disagree with that. It's obviously up to her what she wants to do. I think she could be a big television star if she wanted to. I don't know if that's what she really wants to do.
Yeah, and it's all their own prerogatives. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's nothing right or wrong. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. You know, like that's totally fine. I do have to clock in for work. I'm already getting text messages. I will see y'all. Next time y'all hear me will be the Weekender. It'll most likely get recorded on Sunday unless there's like a late Sunday night show that I don't know about. But I should be recording it Sunday afternoon, probably over on FightfulSelect.com. And enjoy this interview with Bobby Flaco that you're about to hear. And Jeremy, if you want to talk a little about Ricky Starks and Glory Pro after I leave, go for it because that was pretty cool. And yeah, I'm literally about to run into my other room. So see you guys. Good seeing chat. Good seeing you, Jeremy.
Ricky Starks did return to wrestling at Glory Pro this past weekend. He speared Sean Logan, who has been on In the Weeds in the past and setting up a match with Cody Lane in November. Good to see Ricky back out there doing some stuff on the independent scene. I don't know how many dates he's going to be working, but I hope Ricky can get as much work as he can or wants on the independent scene. I think he's a guy that should be on television. I think there's a spot for him somewhere. It obviously comes down to what he wants and what AEW wants. But I'm happy to see him just kind of back out on the scene and doing wrestling and keeping his name out there. And hopefully this silences some people of, oh, well, Ricky, if he really loves wrestling, he'll do independent dates and things like that. Not that he needed to, but it's just good to see. Let's get into our interview with Bobby Flaco, the Action World Champion. He is back. Ayo, Bob's here in the Creator Spotlight.
Welcome to the Creator Spotlight here on the Spotlight on Fightful. I am Stephen Jensen, joined as always by Jeremy Lambert. And our guest today is a returning guest. He is the new Action Wrestling World Champion. Ayo, Bob's here. Bobby Flaco back on the show. Thank you for joining us again. How you been?
Ayo, what's up, guys? I'm chilling, man. I've been awesome. Things are going pretty well right now. I'm getting ready for the road right now, packing my bag and shit.
Yeah, I know you were saying before we got rolling that you got a lot of traveling coming up. What for the people who are watching this? What's coming up next for you?
I fly to San Diego tomorrow to do GCW on Thursday in San Diego, the Monster Bash, and then I'm gonna do Hawaii GCW. In Honolulu. I'm gonna spend 5 days in Honolulu out there too. So that's what I'm leaving for tomorrow. So I'm pretty fucking excited. I've just been working a good bit getting ready for this.
I assume you'll be vlogging in the Hawaii trip?
Oh yeah, definitely for sure.
What do you have planned?
Dude, I got no fucking idea. I'm hanging out with a friend that lives out there, and I think we're gonna do some rent a car and do some sightseeing and stuff like that. I have no idea. We'll just see, bro. It's all going to be crazy. It's going to be Hawaii. So, especially for my first time. Dude, I don't know. Who knows?
All right. Well, you gotta see some volcanoes if you're around. I'm not super familiar. I've been to Hawaii once, and I can't remember what island I went to. But we did like ATVs. We went up and did the whatever the volcano tour was and saw that kind of stuff. So, and then black beaches that they have, like black sand beaches, which are really, really cool. So there's plenty of stuff out there to do.
Oh, I can't wait, dude. It's going to be sick. It's going to be crazy. I can't wait. I got 5 days out there.
Nice. I look forward to seeing this vlog. Your vlogs are always very entertaining. It's life on the, it's not like life on the road like as a wrestler, but you go to some very unique and cool places and like document it all is so much like, it's so cool to watch, like as a fan, to check that stuff out and like see kind of just the things you're getting into.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I try to make it, everybody does like the backstage vlog or like the show day thing, like I don't know, whatever. But it's how do I say it's not what I sit down and watch on YouTube. Like what I sit down and watch on YouTube is kind of the shit that I do is like just what can happen any day if you take a left on a street and go down that corner and fucking see who's out there, and find out how they're living and like that type of shit. And with my vlogs, I try not to follow too many of these fucking dumb, like, growth rules or whatever. Like I've made them like shorter and edited. I think that's going to help me because like I don't have as much reach right now, But what I really want to do is just what I used to do. Y'all probably have seen them. I only recently like made the change. Just the long ass fucking like 30 minutes of what could really happen if you just fly to the Amazon and find a random tour and get some dude to take you to the jungle. You know, like just kind of the day of like what the fuck's actually going on. You know, so I try to keep it to that formula for now, and it's just fun. You know, I don't want it to be work. You know.
Yeah, it's awesome. Just by the way, sorry, just throwing me off. Is there any lag between Bobby's words and the video for you, Jeremy? I apologize.
A little bit, but I'm just ignoring it and moving forward.
Okay. I was just asking because if it's something we can fix real quick, it's just like it's throwing me off. I apologize. Would you, Bob? Would you be able to jump off and jump back on real quick?
Yeah, just hit the leave.
Yeah, just leave and come right back in.
Leave. All right.
Sorry, it was like totally throwing me off. I was like, she's moving.
Yeah, I was just going more words than video.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, if we have to edit this, we can. But if we can fix that, that'd be nice to be able to fix real quick. Let's see now. Test. Can you hear me?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that's way better. Okay, perfect. That's perfect. So picking up where we just left off, the traveling. I know you've been doing a lot of that. That's got to be awesome that you get to do that while you're working. It's like work and play for you. I know we had you on a while back, and that was a big thing for you, was like being able to see the world. Where haven't you been yet that you want to be?
Southeast Asia for sure. Like Thailand, Vietnam, Laos, like that type of shit. That I'll definitely be at one day for sure. And probably India at least once. You know, that's hectic. That's a hectic trip. And eventually Africa one day. When I'm a real G, I'll go to fucking Africa and see what's going on there, because that's a whole nother level of like travel. You know, even like going to Southeast Asia is like, it's probably, most people say it's their favorite place to be, like it's Thailand, Vietnam, stuff like that. It just is peaceful and fun and tropical and chill, and like, but even that's like a whole nother level from like South America, where it's like it's called America for a reason, you know. It's like half fucking like European, so like there's still certain like familiar elements that I see in some of these places that would be thrown out the window somewhere like Asia, or like specifically like Southeast Asia or India or Africa for sure.
Well, it's cool that you're getting to see the world, but locally for me, of course, I'm a fan of action wrestling, and you are, as I said at the intro, the new action wrestling world champion. You defeated Manders to become the champion at the Manders versus Flaco 2 event. What has been the feedback like so far? Because, I mean, you're a guy who really, I mean, like a quote-unquote homegrown guy at action wrestling, like fan favorite, rose his way to the top. And I as a fan personally, I can say I really, really enjoyed watching. Like, I love Manders. I think he did a great job with the belt, but like it was like the right move, I think, and it's your time. And it just seems like the fans were really ready for that. How's the feedback been since becoming the champion?
Yeah, it's been really good, man. I think that's most of the reason behind even like doing it. You know what I mean? Yeah, it just felt like everybody's saying, everybody's kind of repeating the same thing. Like it became time, you know. I've been around action a while and been doing good things there for a while, and the more I grow with other big companies and stuff like that, but still bring all that experience and knowledge like back home, you know, it's something I'm really proud to represent, and I've gotten a lot of good feedback from it. So we're looking forward to what's going to happen.
I didn't know if you had to follow up on the action stuff, Jensen. Yeah, I figured you'd want to talk.
You mentioned the big companies too. I mean, obviously GCW, you're getting a lot of work there right now, and I've liked seeing your rise there as well, because like everyone's trajectory at GCW is always a bit different. Like in yours, I've seen a lot of others kind of go this route as well that have been very successful, kind of like the route of like the multi-man tag matches, and then the scrambles, and then it's like you start getting some singles, and then you start getting some singles wins, and it's like, oh, you're becoming a guy at GCW, which I want you to talk about GCW. Then of course we can talk action all day, because I know that your exposure to GCW is obviously helping you everywhere else, because way more people know about you now.
Yeah, the climate at GCW has been sick, and I think the secret to executing it on that level is like being able, like dealing with the failures of it, and being able to take a step back and look at how big of a place GCW is and how big of an opportunity it is to even like be there and make an entrance there, and then like if you're able to really let that set in and like be okay with, I'm on most shows now, but like I'm still kind of at a point in my head to where it's like, I'm scheduling everything around it to do vlogs and shit like that. I'm like, there's like a meme that's like, you got to be okay if it happens or if it doesn't happen, And I kind of had the same approach with Evolve back in the day. I just chose GCW as a place where I wanted to like be a part of the team, and like as a group of folks I wanted to like be around, and every can name drop anybody who like will like we're getting ready in the locker room, and they'll look up at the card and it's like the first time it's a singles, it's like, oh shit, you got the singles going, and then it's like sometimes it's like it'll be higher up on the card and it'll be me versus like Price, and it's like, oh shit, you're gonna open the show versus Price, that's crazy. And then it's like your name is underlined sometimes, like people notice like all that shit and are real cool about inviting people that want to be a part of the team onto the team. Some people get that one scramble and think the world owes them something, but if you can be really good, like it ain't just Evolve, there's a million good places out there that you can reach, like just go to and try to become part of the team. And I think if there's good folks running it, then fucking you'll probably be a part of the team if you prove that you're somebody that's worth it,
Okay, I want to ask about the vignette for Hammerstein Arena. I don't know if you know this. Stephen Jensen was part of that vignette. At least his voice was.
Yeah, basically what happened, Bob, is so I'm a big supporter of Game Changer Wrestling. I've been saying for years, like to watch the show, support, just like I do with most independent companies. I'm very big on supporting independent wrestling, and of course, like the one clip that they use of me in this GCW vignette for Hammerstein is someone else's super chat that I was reading out loud that didn't like the show. So it sounds like I didn't like it, and it's like, no, I did. I support the company, but it made it look like I was a hater along with all the other talking heads. So anyway. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Jeremy.
So what was your reaction when you found out like you're going to be part of this and you're going to be part of the show?
Dude, as crazy as it sounds, I mean, not so crazy because we were just talking about kind of like the process of being a part of it. Like that's one of the I could count 5 times on my hand the times where it's like, hey, here's where it's not my idea to pull up, and Hammerstein's one of them, which is nuts, I mean, I did happen to be wrestling at the show where they did do the graphics, it's all just being at the right place at the right time, dude. Brett fucking, I can say he fucks with me, you know what I mean? And he fucks with good folks that are doing what I'm doing. So like when I'm there at the time of the filming of the picture of the graphic or whatever, and also I've been doing my thing, just like basically pulling up whenever I want to, which is also crazy. Pulling up and getting, it's crazy. I'm just very much so looking forward to it. That's it's a big step for me in a lot of ways.
Anything that you potentially want to do, like if you had your choice of what you wanted to do, what would it be?
I can't stop thinking about what I want to see at that show, if I'm being perfectly honest. And maybe I could weasel my way into being a part of it. But they got to redo the JBL speech, bro. They gotta do that. They gotta do the JBL speech, bro. From the balcony.
So who is going to be Heyman on this? Is Janela Heyman in this? Because he kind of cut a similar promo a couple weeks back talking about how GCW has gone the sports entertainment route to in the past almost a year now, it feels like.
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah, I don't really know. I guess I'm not super educated on the angle. I guess I only watched the viral video of JBL and standing up on the fucking thing. But yeah, whoever it needs to be. I'll take the clothesline if I need to.
What's it like being around those guys? Like, have you had any interactions, like any personal backstage interactions or anything, like with JBL or Bully Ray or like any of these guys who have come in?
Nah, I try to. I stay away. I stay out the way, bro. And that's a personal choice of mine. You know, everybody that works on the ring will go up and find Matt Cardona and talk to him. You know, but I'm 31 years old and it's 2024 post COVID, baby. You don't got to go find everybody nowadays and shake their fucking hand. So. You know what I mean? Like I'll say, you know, when you're walking past somebody, it's like Pokemon, you say hey to them or whatever. But like, I don't really be going too crazy about that shit. You know, it's a better look. You know, it's better somebody comes up and talks to you. I think it's a better like. It's just I don't know. It's just my personal opinion or the way I go about it with big guys like that. So I'll just watch from afar unless I'm needed for some shit. You know.
Sure. Well, what's it like on the flip side, being around other guys that are in similar spots that you are, that you've kind of come up with, guys like, you know, Braden Toon and Hunter Drake and like these kind of guys who are also popping up at GCW shows a little more regularly?
I'll do anything for those motherfuckers, bro. Drake, Toon, Yaki, Danger. Yeah. Don't fuck with me, but Danger's my boy, dude. Like, I really, 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 and I could tell you people. Even regionally that kind of are on doing the kind of same thing that I do, that I end up seeing like in other places around the fucking country that are growing up through the scene too. You know, like Tiger's one of my boys, you know, fucking Lion and what's his name, you know, we're all getting the fuck after it and trying to do this thing. And we all like kind of get it. And like, all at the end of the day, we're all making sure we're looked after and it's just cool. I like it. I think that, I think that one day folks like myself and Drake and Toon and Yaki and Danger and fucking people like that, Rico, we're going to have a lot going on and we're going to look back at this shit and we're going to have fucking like mortgages and bullshit going on and we're going to be like, damn, that shit was fun.
Any thoughts? Because it's been a big topic today. The WWE ID program, and I know you're not from one of the schools that are in this program, but any thoughts on what it could do to the independent scene?
No, I think it's just like anything. It'll be cool, and if some people will make it shitty, you know. I don't know, man. I'm pretty cool. I know I feel more good about it than I want to get on the fucking internet and talk about and maybe possibly be wrong about. You know, I definitely feel good about it as like a whole for everybody, but like, you know, yeah, I think it'll be cool for sure. I think that the good connections we've made over the years will pay off with this. So, yeah,
I feel like, I mean, I could be totally wrong because, you know, full disclosure, I work a shoe job, so I didn't see a whole lot about this as it was going on. I did see the news about, you know, this new developmental indie kind of system program that they're putting together, but like, it seems like the only thing that it could even really be negative about it, in my opinion, and it's not that big of a deal probably at all, is like any politics that can get involved in, like, you know, there's like a WWE represented superstar versus like an AEW on like an indie show, and like who wins, who like does that get more. But even then, it's like, I don't feel like I think even that idea is being blown more out of proportion than what people think. And I personally do think it's a really, like, how could this be bad overall for wrestlers when you know that you have opportunity? Like, if you want, not everyone's going to want to go to the WWE, but like the people that do, like, you have like more of a way now, you know, like I feel like there probably is good overall, but we'll see what it looks like once it actually starts rolling, I guess, and who they kind of choose to sign for that, I guess.
Yeah, who the fuck knows, man? It'll be good.
Yeah. were you? I mean, I guess Jeremy, this is a question for you too. Like, do you have any idea about this before they made the announcement? I hadn't heard anything about like the WWE putting something like this together. It came kind of out of the blue.
Yeah, it came out of the blue for me. Sorry to cut you off there, Bobby. But yeah, I don't think many people knew about it. Obviously, Triple H has talked a lot about kind of just doing what they call the global localization thing, and that's kind of what they did. I think the biggest fear people have is it turns it into what it turned into with Europe and the UK. And people say that the independent scene in the UK isn't good, and WWE might be responsible for that. That's what people, over there have kind of been saying. And they're worried about that being the same instance here in the US.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. I think, personally speaking, I think the independent scene is way too strong right now for that to be an issue. Yeah.
How could it? Yeah, people like you got to make some kind of story out of it, and people aren't going to click on positive shit. So
yeah, I mean, so yeah, but anyway, I thought it was interesting that happened for sure. That we got the news of that.
We knew something was going to happen, right? Ever since WrestleMania, it's always been like new shit's going to happen, keep happening. Independent wrestling, this game changing, that like it's all. They've been fucking with GCW forever. I mean, we've been knowing they're gonna do something. They got Reality Wrestling. They got Deep South in Georgia. Actually, Lexus King was just out here. So I mean, it's everywhere.
Yeah,
It's good.
Absolutely.
Good.
I know you're talking about working with Brett Lauderdale. Now that you're Action Champion, what's your relationship like with Matt Griffin? Just like over the years.
I came up the same way in Action as I did in GCW. It ain't fucking rocket surgery. Like Action is 20 minutes from my house, and I always, when I was first started wrestling, I had a rule. I would like just follow who I thought the top guys around were, and that was any show that Fox was on, or Austin Theory, or AC Mack, and AC Mack was the champion of Action. And Austin Theory was there. So that's where I would start pulling up and helping out and becoming part of the team. And yeah, Matt's my guy for sure. Matt's done a lot for me. He's done a lot for the WWA4 and the kids that I train with, and the kids that trained after me. It's a good relationship for sure.
All right, let's circle back to winning the Action Championship against Manders. Walk us through the match. Walk us through the moment. Just everything that went into this show.
It was interesting because it was like we just definitely don't need to overthink this, or like it's too much of a layup to fuck this up. Like I normally don't get into who like wins or loses, but that might, like, what I needed to do was win there. That's basically all that had to happen. It wasn't going to be like we weren't going to go 25 minutes and have a fucking 5-star Meltzer guy. We needed to tell a story and fucking change the guard, really. It was interesting because there was some reactions to the internet of like they did not believe I was going to lose that shit at all. Probably people farther away, that just never really watched Action, or if you've ever been to Action, you probably didn't feel that way. But like just because of who Manders is and the level he's on, but in the building, it was kind of just we knew that was the day. And it was like this weird pressure of being too easy, not that the wrestling itself was easy. It was like hard to come up with the fucking right way to do it. I did the 1 count. I hate the 1 count. I hate it.
Oh, off of the left arm lariat towards the end of the match, where you the 1 count before he hit you with the right arm lariat for the 2, and then the finish. Yeah.
So it was interesting, like making that happen. We had some help with that. That was an appropriate moment for it. I felt when it was like my time to win, not like a 5-minute tryout match. It was a time appropriate thing. But it was fun. I learned a lot. Had some help from the homies coming up with it. which I typically try not to do. But yeah, it was fun. I was glad I got to do it with Manders. Me and Manders have known each other for a while. I see him more than I see most wrestlers, between the South and GCW. Yeah, it was great. I had a fucking blast. Loved it. The people there fucking give a shit, about me, which is, which makes me want to do it. I'm not much of a belt. I'm not too into it all the time. Saw what it did to AC Mac, my fucking boy. I love AC Mac. I interviewed him and he told me he'd still be wrestling if he wouldn't have got pushed so hard. Because guys our size, I'm not gonna be a little more jacked than him, but like guys our size winning all the time is tough, bro. Like it's like big dudes protecting their size. I couldn't imagine the pressure, and like so winning matches when you're this size and being a champion when you're this size and like, not to sound like that, it's just what it is. Like it's an easier job to chase or like make somebody look good or like have a banger cruiserweight deal or like do a fun big man up man than to be like to win and be a champion. But it's a pressure that I'm definitely looking forward to and I'm gonna be better for it afterwards, you know what I mean? So there's just a lot about it. I rambled a little bit, but yeah.
No, I never considered that about, because I mean the majority of I mean probably, I'm bad about years, but it probably from 2017 or 18 until AC retired, pretty much he was like either the action champion or the sub champion or the IWTV champion. Like he was he was the guy. And I never considered that, but it is interesting that you mentioned that, but because like I'll still see AC as like a fan at shows and stuff. Like, and a lot of the time, like when Rico's wrestling, like he's like nervous in the crowd. Like, he's like excited to watch the matches. And I looked at him and we don't know each other super well, but I've interviewed him before. And I always ask him when I see him, like, how's retirement? And he's always like, man, I love it. And he just looks like he's just so relieved and like he's loving watching, his friends and everyone, like they're out there, kind of trying to achieve kind of what he had already done. And, so I never considered that though about AC. That was a really good point you brought up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I do feel like the rightful action champion for sure though. So that'll be fun.
Yes. Have they announced or have y'all set up your first title defense?
The first there's not a show until November 29th and it's at the bar. So we'll see what happens with that. I've texted him some ideas for shit I want to do. I want to have, I don't know, I just feel like I have so many relationships in wrestling that I could do a lot of storyline, like twist and turn type shit for sure, between the school and the Skulk and top team and fucking yada yada. Like there's a lot we can do. And just a lot besides like just wrestling the bigger names that come in too. Like I'd like to have a reign that like kind of entails doing that and like also like tying in some like good deep storylines, Not everybody fucking says that, but
no, I want to see a mix of that as well. Like you mentioned the school, you mentioned Mr. Danger, you mentioned Teriyaki, a bunch of those guys top team. Mr. Danger, I feel like he was like this hidden treasure for a while, but now like people are really starting to find out about him. Super entertaining guy. But also just what's your opinion on this? Not necessarily the safety of what he does, because it's like every match I see of his, I'm like, he's gonna hit a swanton off the highest thing he can find, right? Like it's just like, yeah, but that's part of the attraction. Like you want to see that from Mr. Danger, but also everyone needs to make sure they're catching Mr. Danger if he's going to jump off something high. And I've seen him hit the ground pretty hard a few times, and it's a little scary. So what's kind of your thoughts on that too? Just like, I've seen that as like some discourse online as well, like on wrestling Twitter of like, we're not catching people. So like, what kind of your thoughts on that?
There's a lot of the pot calling the kettle black on fucking Twitter about catching people. And I'd like to think I'm closer to Mr. Danger than most of these motherfuckers that are talking shit for sure. I'm the one that's back there with the ice pack and GCW. But I will also say, like, it's fucking hard, bro. It's fucking hard. Like Like I said that I kind of scolded the group chat for going off on him, but then I did watch. I guess there was a little bit of an actual movement of like a dip and dive out of the way. That's kind of crazy. But then again, bro, like fuck. Have y'all ever caught anybody from that fucking height?
Oh no, I'm not putting blame by the way.
It's like a way. It's not that y'all are doing it, but y'all the only examples I had in front of me. You know
sure.
I mean? Like fuck, man, you go fucking catch them if you're gonna bitch about it online. You know what I mean? You make the drive to fucking Atlantic City and go set up the ring, and then you go fucking catch Mr. Danger, and then you can get on fucking online and talking shit. I just know because I've failed too. Not necessarily. I mean, maybe with Mr. Danger before. But I know I've been like not there for Terry as much as I wanted to be, and especially like way earlier in my career, I've been the guy where the guy fucking splatted, and fuck, it's hard, you know. But not that I wouldn't do anything for Mr. Danger or nothing like that. But it just doesn't benefit me to call out these fucking guys and talk shit. Like I don't got to prove anything to anybody about how much I care about this dude or like what the fuck ever. That's why I choose not to say anything, like because I'm the one that's really like. Or me and the gang are really the ones that are there for each other, and like none of these motherfuckers drove to Atlantic City to catch Mr. Danger. So like none of them should fucking say anything. And if they do say anything, it's the super Captain Obvious thing I pointed out about ducking and diving, which is wrong. But then it's like, yeah, guess what? You're just another fucking dumbass Captain Obvious on Twitter, you know. And there's like every single person who's done it has let somebody fall. I know it, even on like a suicide dive. So like. People just need to shut the fuck up about it. If you want to know my honest opinion about it, like it's, you know, and I'm not gonna say people can screenshot it. I'm not gonna say it on Twitter, but like, yeah, dude, shut up. Like it, like you weren't there. You know, like it's hard. Like he swanton perfectly dives off the thing from very very high up, and I know because I go as high as I possibly can, and it's a hard ask for people to catch me, you know, and sometimes I don't do it, you know, and I kind of got a thing where Terry halfway lands on his feet and I halfway land on my feet too. And, you know, Mr. Danger tries to do that, but it's also that like, okay, so we're done. We'll shut the fuck up about the dives. It's like you said, it is part of his, like it is part of his appeal, and it's what he's choosing to do. So, and that makes him more valuable than me probably, you know? So like, it just is what it is. Like, I'm not the one that's going to do it. And he also has like a connection with these people. And so that little bit is like building. And I'll even go behind the baseball and say that like, you know, there was even a point where Brett's like, hey man, go get some more bookings. Because Danger was at a point where he was like, I'm gonna only do GCW, blah, blah. It's like, no, because like, first of all, you can't jump off the ladder every time, and you need to be ready for like what the fuck ever happens. And that's kind of just proves that Danger and I bring two separately. He's working and getting better as a worker daily. But I would consider myself a kind of a slept on seasoned worker. Like I think I've earned my spot from Brett by doing all those other little fucking things, like the 3-minute match, the 3-minute job, the 4-minute job, the 5-minute job, the scramble, the 8-man tag, the triple threat. I'm the only motherfucker that does triple threats at GCW. The triple threat, the fucking finally the singles, and then like winning singles, like but I'm not jumping off a fucking building. You know what I mean? So like, there's just different things that you bring to the table. And Danger, the more he gets better, the bigger stages he'll be on, probably the better catches he'll get. Like, I think it's only up for him. You know, he's fucking fine.
When it comes to, I'm very curious about the catching thing, because I didn't weigh in. I don't weigh in on stuff on Twitter because I don't feel that's the platform to have a civil discussion about things with a lot of people. But I am curious because like when I see it, to me as just a fan, it's like, okay, if there's like 4 people, someone's got to kind of make a conscious effort to be there. If it's one person, it could be a lot tougher to, you never know if he slips, goes the wrong way. Like you might be out of position. They might not fall the way you thought they were gonna fall. But the parting of the Red Sea is basically what I've seen from people. It's like, oh, there's like 6 people, and then all 3 just kind of, nobody is kind of there for him. And that's where, like, again, as someone who likes watching wrestling, wants people to be safe on this kind of stuff, it's like somebody's got to make kind of a conscious decision of like, we're gonna have to be here. We might have to take a little on this, but we're gonna make sure the guy falling, who is our friend or at least a peer, is going to be safe on this. Like, how does that get decided when it is something like that? And then how does it get almost screwed up to where they do just the parting of the Red Sea?
No, because I'll just say, like, kind of like on my rant before, like, I've been the person that's not been there all the way. So, but like a strat before, like, it gets quote tweeted with a picture of me letting somebody splat. But there's a strategy that I like to take when I'm diving, and that's to just honestly 9 times out of 10, one solid motherfucker is better. And if there's a pile, I would like to find, like, you know, Toon or Danger or even Drake in that pile of people I'm not too familiar with, and I'm like, I'm gonna actually fucking dive on you, all right? And that's, you know, and Drake will do that with me too, you know, and like that's kind of a technique I try to take with, like, just one step ahead of, like, the prevention. Like, of course nobody was fucking there. Only, of course, half of them were there. We put the match together 20 minutes ago and never were in the ring. Of course, the shit went fucking retarded. So there's all kinds of little steps we can take. Like when I was gonna say one about when I'm catching somebody too. Oh, dude, I if we're in a big pile and somebody is the trustworthy guy, if I'm not the trust guy, I'll be the front guy, the guy who's right there in between him and, like, the railing, and or not the railing, but like the apron and, like, the fucking corner and the fucking metal, the ring, the dangerous part of the ring. I'll be like the close guy, because especially with guys who are doing crazy shit, that something might happen and they might go the wrong way, you know. Try to be the close guy. It's a little bit easier too, to be honest. Try to be the close guy and make sure that's what you're kind of watching out for, because I've been the guy diving and everybody's 5 feet away where I told him to catch me at, and I slipped on the ring and fucking hit my head on the way down. You know what I mean? Because there's nobody there to, like, because I didn't ask somebody to be there. You know, I try to avoid the finger pointing too, dude. That shit's lame. We're fucking adults. Like, shit happens. Like, but also we I mean, you know, be better, catch dives, learn how to do it. And people overthink it too, bro. It's like, just you're breaking the fall. So, like, what you literally got to do is exist there underneath them before they catch the ground. And, like, if they're coming high, like, as long as you're still underneath them, you can kind of put your hand, break the fall with the hand first, and then, like, kind of still also catch them like this. Like, there's a lot that goes into it, which can also make it very complicated. So I try not to be too opinionated about it, but there's some steps you can take for sure. But who knows?
I appreciate you giving a lot of insight onto that, because it was a big talking point over the weekend from what I saw. And, like, you're somebody who is fallen off of high places, jumped off of high places, and who has been at the bottom of the pile as well. So we appreciate the insight on that. Yeah,
it's fucking scary to catch a dive. You know, it takes a long time to get used to, and some people aren't. You know, some people fuck up.
Now, one of the moves you do that I feel like can really go great or really go bad. It's just like it takes a lot of timing and a lot of athleticism. I call it the super Cody cutter, the top rope, you know, os cutter basically. Mm-hmm. What's it like doing that move? Because I feel like no matter who does that move, every time I watch it, I'm always sketched out, because I'm like, it takes such timing by both people to make that work. But you do it great. But it's one of those things where it's like, I love that move, but, like, I've also seen it done poorly, and, like, it doesn't look good when you know what I mean? So what's it like choosing to do that move as one of, like, your main moves? And how does it feel like every time you go up there to hit it?
Well, I didn't really. It'd be tough to hit another move from boinging backwards. Besides just like a regular fucking. There's other moves up there, I guess. But, like, yeah, that one's a tough one. That one is, like, I can give that to almost anybody if I know they're, like, a pro. It's just, like, taking cutters, or it can be weird and tough, like, you know, and it's a little bit of it's wild, kind of like my dive. It's wild. It's coming from weird angles. So, you know, sometimes you kind of get the extra spin to it. I don't know. I just I won't give it to everybody, you know. It's not as big of I'll give it to more people than I will that fucking reverse Rana thing. But yeah, it's most people who like take cutters from. I mean, everybody does a cutter off the top now, so it's a pretty easy thing to tell people to take. Mine goes pretty high, but yeah.
What's the reasoning for the top rope double stomp being the move you're using as your finisher lately?
It was my main finisher when I was back in the day. Really, really fucked my knee up during COVID and kind of got away from that move and other high risk moves for a little bit. And yeah, it seems like a good one to be like a good like actual 9 out of 10 times finisher. You know, I like to not just have one finisher. I have like I've won an action with like 6 different moves probably.
Yeah.
Not counting roll ups. So like I'd like for the double stomp to be like one that I can, you know, it's an easy one for people to follow. Like he's going up top, he's gonna do this, you know, and I can do it relatively safely, and it's a fucking believable finisher. The two I can do to anybody.
Right. Yeah, because you also do like I've seen you do many moves as finishers as well. Like the I always blank on the move, the AR driver, I believe. The
AO driver, yeah.
Yeah, that's a sweet move. But I also understand why, like maybe don't whip that out in every single match, because like whenever you hit that, commentary in the crowd is always like, "What the fuck was that?" You know what I mean? Like damn. But what's the secret behind like that move and like the double stomp? Like, how do you do that without actually hurting people? Like coming down with all your weight on you. Well, I know you're not actually, you know. How do you do that safely? Because I've always been kind of intrigued by that move.
It's like keeping the moment. It's like a bit of a squatting motion and like keeping your momentum like still steadily like moving with your feet. I don't know if I'm like saying it right. Like
because you're somehow having to like distribute your weight, but like you're midair and you are coming down feet. Like everyone's seeing you hit people with your feet on the way down, but you're somehow able to not actually drive all the momentum into that person.
Yeah.
We don't have to give away every secret here. Come on, Jensen.
Yeah,
okay. You're the one asking about catching people, so I'm like, I'm gonna take advantage here.
Yeah, fair enough. We broke the fourth wall with
yeah.
I mean, it's just you got to practice that shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I think I started doing it like a small one in the ring, like how people do the little elbow drop in the ring. And to be honest with you, I was way more scared of like splashing like a big face bump off the top. I could not get the fuck. I'm not doing that for a move. And like, I'm not a 450 guy. And like, yeah, I just needed something from the top, like a move that's not where they're standing from the top to the ground, and then also needed a finisher that I could do to everybody. But yeah, I don't know. I got a pretty solid one. It's a pretty good double stomp, and I can hit it from far as fuck. I've just been working on it a while, I guess.
Okay, what about driving your motorbike and then kicking someone?
Let's talk about it. Dude, it's just ever since, like, I mean, during the pandemic is when I really started developing the character that I have with the motocross and stuff. And dude, whose idea was it? It was somebody's idea at Center Stage the first time we did it. I want to say Teriyaki. Probably fucking Teriyaki. Or Drake. One of them was like, what if you hit me with that thing? And then I was like, what if I hit everybody with that thing? And I think that was the first time I did it. I was already doing entrances and shit like that. Yeah, that was the first time we did it. Worked out where we made it to where like, yeah, just have them sit down and drive by him with the feet. Yeah, it's just some fun creative shit we was coming up with. That was like my one spot for the scramble match, basically, and everybody remembered it.
Yeah, I was there live at that show.
Sick.
Yeah, definitely. I love the Center Stage GCW shows. I'm looking forward to them being back. I think it's December like 5th or something. They're going to be back.
7th. I think the 6th is the day before in Tampa, and the 7th in Atlanta. Yeah, I love it. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Bobby.
No, I was gonna say I love the center stage shows too. Those are a lot of fucking fun.
Yeah, do you have GCW coming around you anytime soon, Jeremy? Do you know?
I don't know when it's coming to Ohio. No idea. I've not seen it. The last show I went to was Columbus when they were in Columbus. Although I went to the show in Toronto, but I'm not from Toronto. I was just there for the weekend.
They're doing the Midwest a couple weeks after Hawaii.
Okay, I'll keep an eye on things. I try to go if it is in the Cleveland area. I couldn't go to SummerSlam weekend because I was just busy with other stuff that weekend.
Nice.
But yeah, if it's around, try to make the trip. I like to go and bug Cole Radrick and try to avoid him, but also bug him at the same time.
Yeah, that's my boy. He's always looking out.
Can you say like mean things about Cole? Like I would appreciate that.
No.
Oh, all right.
At the moment, nothing comes to mind.
I can say, I mean, I can give you some ideas. Like he wants to put me through a table, so like I'm not really.
You're just swinging me away from you, brother. I don't know. I'm gonna have to help him out.
Wow, come on, Bobby. Come on.
So
no. I need people on my side.
Oh no.
He's like a training professional and I'm not. Like what did I do to go through a table?
I don't know, but whatever you did to make Cole Radrick mad was obviously your fault. So
I didn't do anything. That's the thing. He's just mad at me. I don't know what it is. No idea. I supported his show. He ran a SpongeBob show a couple months ago. I went and I supported the show and everything. He's always on one of our shows that we do. And for some reason, he's still mad at me. I don't get it. I feel I'm likable. He's likable too, but he still wants to put me through a table.
You'd be way more likable after he puts you through a table.
Yeah, you get a lot.
I gotta earn my stripes. Is that?
Yeah.
I'll tell you the truth. Hopefully, my wife doesn't listen to this. I'm like willing to do it. I'm also very afraid to do it, but like I'd be willing to be all right. You know what? If you want to do this, if you can promise like some safety, because the biggest thing I worry about is like I am not trained. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want something to go wrong and then the show looks bad. I get hurt. Somebody else looks bad. They get hurt. Like that's my biggest fear. If I could guarantee of like, yeah, put me through this thing. Everybody's going to be safe. Okay, fine. I'm up for it.
Yeah, no, we definitely shouldn't actually put you through a table. But yeah, you're right. There's all kind of crazy shit that could go wrong. But
yeah, I'm not trained, and nobody needs that to make them look bad. So I'm not like Sean or anybody who actually like has experience doing this. I can take a bump. I'll bump. I'll look silly. I'm not afraid to do anything like that.
You could do like a door bridge. I feel like that wouldn't be like the table. The table, like there's a chance the table doesn't break. And I know you're not like the heaviest dude. Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? You'd have to really get thrown through a table hard, I feel like, for it to break. At door bridge, I think you'd be all right.
None of this is good. None of this sounds good.
No, none of it sounds good.
No.
Yeah, I don't want to do any of it either again.
I don't want to.
Well, that's a good question, actually, Bobby. Do you have any aspirations at all in like deathmatch wrestling or anything along those lines? No. Okay.
Nah, nah. I love them. I love it. I love them. I love the whole thing. I love watching it. I'm not doing it. I've never even pricked my fucking face or whatever, or my forehead. I've only done a few select table spot or like door spots, I'm just not crazy about it. It's part of it sometimes, but no, I'm definitely not doing a death match.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Probably not, Yeah, probably not. Because yeah, who knows? Because like, there's levels of safety with certain people with shit, but I don't know. It's not my personality.
Yeah, it's understandable. I never thought about because I don't. That makes sense. So you super inside baseball. Everyone knows about blading at this point, obviously. But like, so yeah, I mean, and just for what it's worth, like I'm the kind of person where obviously I watch a lot of shows that involve deathmatch wrestling, a lot of blood and that kind of stuff. But I feel like I can get just as much enjoyment out of like just I don't necessarily need the blood all the time either. Like and the fact that I never even realized that I hadn't seen you in that position, but I'm still such a big fan, I think speaks to how good you are, because I'm not, you know what I mean? I've never even considered that. I've never seen you do that. I mean, it's never mattered before to me.
Yeah, good storylines and good chair and table every now and then is cool. Like I went through a door when I wrestled Zilla. I had a WrestleMania match for Action at the H2O building. I went through a door there. Yeah, but there's just a lot of extra risk when that stuff starts happening, so I'll stay away from it. I mean, I've done other dumb, risky shit. Like I've taken some crazy shit. I've done dives off of places. I've been the one to get thrown off the top rope, and I've done the been power bombed off the top rope and all kind of crazy shit. But I'm more comfortable with that. I'm more comfortable with that than sharp things. I don't like sharp things. Yeah, nah. I don't want them to fucking get the fuck. Nah, I'm not gonna do that. I love y'all, but nah, I'm good.
Okay, let's talk. This is my last one. We're gonna, at least for me, we're gonna end on something fun. DJs during wrestling matches instead of commentators.
Oh my god, you saw that shit, bro?
It was on your timeline. Yes, I saw it.
Oh my god, dude, that shit was crazy. The good news is I was fucking up and it didn't matter at all because the music was playing. But that shit was crazy. It was just one of them fun little lucha deals, everybody there was just music playing. It wasn't even like entrances. And I wrestled Takuri, who I know real well. And it was just one of those fun, it was like a flea market, with a band, and it was a lot of fun. But yeah, wrestling, I've never felt more disconnected than fucking wrestling with like just random songs playing in it, And it was also like and the fans were cool, when you ended up connecting with them. But there was also stores and other things happening. Like it was just a lot. But yeah, no, I'll never complain too much about wrestling. But that was pretty cool, pretty interesting.
I wanted to ask, because it just reminded me to ask about commentary. What are your thoughts on? Well, there's quite a few commentators, but like in the Southeast, most of the action shows and stuff in TWE and whatnot, a lot of it is Dylan Hales and Mose. What are your thoughts on those two guys, and specifically Mose? Because Mose has been on this show more than like anybody as a guest. He's a good friend of ours. What are your thoughts on Mose? Because we've seen him really grow as a commentator and kind of a jack of all trades over the years.
Yeah, no, I really fuck with Mose. I like Mose a lot. I love Mose. I think, I like what he's doing. He's doing his own thing. He's moving to his own little beat, just doing the things he enjoys with his girl. I mean, fuck, can't beat that, dude. And he's always keeping it real, but it's not making a chore out of it. If you fucking feel what I mean there, like he's just a good dude. I love him. He does a good job. Dylan Hales does a lot for the wrestling around the Southeast too. So yeah, I mean, because anybody in wrestling, you need like somebody who's really watching the product and cares about it, and like will tell you if you did what the boss wanted, which is fucking part of wrestling that people don't get. I don't know, unless you just want to go wrestle in the streets, you probably should listen to what the fuck the boss wants to say, But yeah, they're fucking good dudes to help out a lot. I appreciate them being around.
I don't know if you've had a chance to go back and watch. I don't know how often you watch your own stuff in general, but if you went back and watched your title win over Manders at Action, but the commentary I thought was superb in that match, like especially Dylan at the beginning of that match. If you had never watched an Action wrestling show before in your life, you would know within a few minutes of that commentary how important the match was, how important the title was, how Manders got to where he is, how you got to where you were, the history between you two guys. So, I mean, I can't put that over enough how good I think Mose and Dylan did. They always do a great job, but I mean, for your title match, I think they really did a great job painting a picture for everybody, even if they weren't familiar with the product.
Dude, that's very cool. I always know they do a good job, but I'm almost spoiled to it, you know. So thanks for saying it out loud again. That's very, very cool, and it makes it so much better, especially for the people who are watching, you know, who might not understand what's going on. It's next level for sure.
For sure. And then for someone like me that follows all of it, I'm just getting hyped up because I'm like, hell yeah, Dylan, that's exactly why I'm so like, I mean, that's exactly what I'm thinking. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's pretty much all I've got. We've been going almost an hour. We ask everybody the coolest thing in their room. I can't remember what you showed us last time, but do you have anything cool you could show us from your room?
No, it's probably that same shitty bike. There's like a electric motorcycle. No, you know, my room is basically my backpack, dude. I don't keep a lot of shit. I'll grab something. There's some travel stuff.
Okay, cool.
I'm gonna ask how many backpacks he goes through. If he just has one that is always with him, or if he has multiples.
Good question. I don't travel often enough. I just have just the one backpack, and then I bring like a little side bag sometimes.
I got these things are actually worn out. Actually, this fucking hat is from Guatemala, but my dogs ate the tip of it for a little bit. So, but I got a lot of shit that's worn out. So I think there will be like a wall. This is a fanny pack from Lima, Peru. It's actually still works pretty good. I don't know why I stopped using it. Oh, it's about to fall apart right here. I have to get my mom to help me with that. But yeah, just like weird, colorful shit I like to pick up when I'm traveling if I'm not fucking broke.
How many backpacks do you have or do you go through?
I have a solid ass fucking backpack. You know, during the I don't want to sound too white privileged, but during the pandemic when things were like tight, we got like a little Christmas present that was like a one shop. Everybody got it the same thing. And it was like almost a gag gift. And it was like a book pack full of like survival supplies and shit. And I don't really know. The survival supplies were more just fun. But the backpack is super fucking solid. I don't remember what brand it is. I just packed it. But it's been the same one. It's like just a regular size. I'll get it. It's like a regular size. This is a regular cheap of flight backpack. And it's not even all the way full.
It's holding up.
But yeah, this will get you through any Spirit flight.
There you go. There you go.
Nice.
Bob, we appreciate you joining us here tonight. Let everybody know what you got coming up and where they can follow you at.
Action is chilling this month for the most part. I think at the end of the month we got our first show back November 29th at the Lion Creek Bar. Then we got a lot of shows lined up for the next couple of days. I'm working on putting together something international after Hammerstein, in between Hammerstein and Vegas for Mania Week. I'm thinking either Chile or Mexico or maybe Southeast Asia because there's things out there too to do some world champion type shit. And got the travel vlog at hostel_Bob on YouTube. That's like my big passion project where all the vlogs from my travels are going. I'm always posting new shit. I'm like way behind, so maybe I'll post a lot of shit soon. But we're going to Hawaii pretty soon. I got a Patreon as well. That's hostel_Bob. It's more like one of them support dealios, but like I do put like early release vlogs because my YouTube is behind and like photo albums and just like extra shit I'm working on. So there's a lot of stuff on there too. If you felt like checking that out too. But yeah, Twitter, Instagram, Bobby Flaco or Bob's. Yeah. It's on there.
Everyone, the links are below. You can check it out. Again, if you've not seen any of the travel vlogs, go check them out. They're a lot of fun. And again, it's not, as you were saying, it's not like, hey, here's backstage at the wrestling show. It's like real travel adventures of someone who is interested in this stuff and has never seen this stuff. And it's really cool and a different look at these places that I would imagine most of us won't be visiting. So, and maybe it will turn people into like, hey, I saw this on Flaco's vlog. Maybe I will go visit this place. Right. It seemed pretty cool and pretty interesting. So I really enjoy it. I appreciate you doing them and bringing that kind of content to this space. Hey guys, links are below. Bobby, thank you for joining us here tonight. And guys, we'll be right back here on the Spotlight. We are back. Big thank you to Bobby Flaco, the new Action Wrestling Champion, for joining us and the Creator Spotlight. Big thank you to everyone who has joined us today, been active in the chat. We really appreciate that. If you haven't, leave a thumbs up on this video. For all of our audio listeners, please leave us a good review on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you are listening to the show. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode of The Spotlight, covering everything in the world of wrestling. Everyone enjoy your weekend. Watch the wrestling if you're going to do that. Crown Jewels this weekend. Collision as always. Independent wrestling as always. Or if you're watching football, or if you're watching hockey, if you're watching basketball, there's no more baseball to watch. Whatever you're doing this weekend, enjoy yourself. Everyone have a happy and safe Halloween. Being safe is the most important thing out there. Everyone be safe. Everyone have a good time out there, whether you are going by yourself, whether you're going with your kids, whether people are coming to your house, whatever it might be, just have a safe Halloween, everyone. We'll talk to y'all next week. Bye, everybody.